everybody. Welcome to the FTW Podcast, the wrestling world in all its laughable glory. This is episode number 145 and was recorded live on New Year's Day, January 1st, 2013. I am Harrison, and with me, as always, is Joe. Say hello, Joe.
I'm still alive.
Rob. Say hello, Rob.
Mayans seem to have been wrong about that whole world-ending thing.
That's true. Lee from Wrestling News Source. Say hello, Lee.
I'm barely alive. I'm struggling. I'm in better condition than Q-Patch, that's all that counts.
Speaking of which, we got Mike from pwtorch.com. Say hello, Mike.
Hi, guys. How are you? Hi, Joe. Hi, Rob. Hi, Garvin. Hi, Harrison. Hi, Ken. How are you?
And that leads us to Ken from radioinfluence.com. Say hello, Ken.
Remember, folks, us here at radioinfluence.com remind you not to drink and drive, because you may spill your beer.
Tonight's discussion is our 2012 year in review. We'll be talking the best and worst in both WWE and TNA, and based on your feedback, and give our own predictions for what we hope to see in 2013. If you're listening to us through iTunes, YouTube, or through your favorite podcast player, make sure to check out theftwpodcast.com for more about us and how to get involved in upcoming discussions. You can find out more about us on Twitter and Facebook. All those links are listed right there at theftwpodcast.com. For those of you listening live tonight here at ftwlive.com, we're absolutely phantasmically glad you can make it. But first, let's begin with our TNA year in review for 2012. I like that Garvin gives me last-minute instructions, just like a half second before I'm about to do something. First thing up. Yeah, exactly. We got our year in review for TNA in 2012. The big things as far as good to come out of TNA, and we got our list from the listeners and everything, and we'll bounce around in here. I just want to give out the one I think is probably the biggest one, and that is the rise of Austin Aries. I can't imagine a more banner year for a TNA talent than that man. When you compare where he was at this time last year and then where he is now, especially because we, predicted that he would be this good. So we'll just put that feather in our cap for that one. Rob, what do you think? Do you think Austin Aries was kind of like the biggest banner year, or do you got a different one? Do you think Jeff Hardy's album was also a pretty good moment for TNA?
No. Jeff Hardy's album would not be a pretty good moment for TNA. Not by any stretch of the imagination. No, I agree with you, Harrison. I think Austin Aries has definitely been one of the standard bearers for TNA. TNA had a really good year in 2012, and I think Austin Aries, without a doubt, is one of the main reasons why. I mean, the guy, like I said before, the guy had a little bit of name recognition from the Indies, but he's taken his game to a whole nother level in TNA.
Oh yeah, I mean, you think about where he was when he came on, and then now he's like, regularly we talk about him as like one of the top talents in TNA. I mean, it's kind of amazing when you think about it. What about, let's just kick up some stuff that the listeners wrote in. Robert wrote in saying TNA's pay-per-views, specifically Bound for Glory, Slammiversary, and Destination X. Bound for Glory, yeah. I think Bound for Glory was a pretty amazing pay-per-view, all things considered. I mean, do you feel that TNA's pay-per-views compared to this year versus last year are a lot better?
Definitely. The biggest problem with the pay-per-views this year was they had the same problem as last year. They didn't quite push them as much as they should, but I think TNA is going to be addressing that. I mean, they're knocking 2 pay-per-views off for 2013. They're already starting to push. I mean, every week you hear them pushing and building up Lockdown, which isn't for a few months yet. So they're starting to push the big pay-per-views that they're going to have. Bound for Glory, Destination X were definitely some of the best pay-per-views that they had. Slammiversary wasn't too bad. I'm not sure I'd group it in with the best, but it was pretty. But it was a pretty solid pay-per-view too.
All right. What about Nick wrote in saying Eric Bischoff and the Jarretts being written off of TV essentially, and we haven't seen them in months. You think this is a smart move? Get rid of the Jarretts and Eric Bischoff?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think Eric Bischoff is too bad on TV. I never really minded him. I think he played a good effective heel whenever he was on. It's just sometimes you're just oversaturated with him.
Well, it's all we get from him, and it's cookie cutter. I think that's part of it. I mean, we saw that Eric Bischoff for many years previously. So to get it again,
yeah, Joe. But the only problem is, I mean, it's kind of him. I mean, you know, but from all the reports we get about Bischoff, it is an aspect of his personality. So it would make sense for him to keep going back to it because it's kind of what he knows.
Right. But that was my main problem with Bischoff is the fact that it's the same stuff. It never really changes. He never really develops his character. You don't get anything new. And TNA tended to oversaturate. I mean, when Bischoff was on TV, he was on TV all the fucking time.
And it's not like we got rid of Hogan in the process as well.
Yeah, really.
Okay, that's true.
We still have part of the quote-unquote problem around.
See, that's worse.
Well, isn't that one of TNA's good things, you know, that they're giving these young up-and-comers like Hulk Hogan and Sting all this TV time?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Sting's return because we've never ever had Sting's return again ever before. See, my thing is I don't mind Eric Bischoff. I think for what he is and what he does, he's very good at it. And yeah, you're right. It's the same thing over and over and over again. But, you know, it's you know what you're going to get from him. You know it's going to be above average pretty much every time, assuming he doesn't do something off the rails like spoil Raw. But it's like, yeah, I mean, that's what you're getting from him. So, with him as a heel in that role of the power-hungry executive, it's going to be at least halfway decent. It's going to be enough to get a face a decent push, is what I'm saying. So I think having him off TV maybe isn't the best thing right now.
Can go two ways. No, it can go two ways, though, because Bischoff's really good, but at the same time, TNA have got a lot of talent that need TV time now. A lot, so I'd keep him off, to be fair.
Okay. That's fair enough. All right, so Bully Ray, the rise of Bully Ray as a singles wrestler, almost like the renaissance of Bully Ray from when he was with Team 3D, and almost, because remember when we talked about them splitting them up, we were always when that happened, I remember us discussing it and being like, this is going to be kind of weird, because we always knew, Bully or Buddy Ray as, a member of Team 3D for so long.
I can't believe you still just referenced him as Buddy Ray.
Tell me that's a nickname you came up with and he's not calling himself that.
No, he's not calling himself that, but when he seemed to turn face, that's what we gave him.
Yeah, Buddy Ray. Marky Ray was the other one.
That's pretty funny.
Because you can't really call him a bully anymore, but regardless.
I respect you, Hulk Hogan. Yeah, you're no longer a bully.
I respect the hell out of you, brother. Okay, but the rise to him as a singles wrestler, and really when he was tearing it up in the main event of TNA, there wasn't a week that went by that we didn't get at least three things from fans saying, oh my God, Bully Ray's the top heel in TNA right now, if not one of the best in wrestling. And it's kind of weird when you think about it.
I always thought it was weird how you get these wrestlers that, like, they're okay in their 20s, they're okay in their 30s, then they just like hit this age, it seems like it's 40, where they just turn around and become this amazing performer.
Yeah.
Where just something comes out of them and they're better than they ever were, and you wonder why they didn't do that for the last 10 years. He's one of those guys.
Maybe it's just experience.
Yeah, and it seems like it's just a light switch.
With Bully Ray, it's definitely experience, and he is one of the big reasons we were so hard up and excited for the Austin Aries rise. I mean, he helped make Austin Aries in TNA. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying Austin Aries wasn't good beforehand, didn't have the talent. Don't get me wrong, but he was one of the people who really helped put him on just above everybody else.
I think he brought the best out of him.
Yeah.
I think he did.
I would say that.
Yeah, because Bully Ray did a great job of helping Austin Aries prove to TNA fans and TNA crowds that Austin Aries could beat somebody better than him or bigger than him.
That's fair.
Because as Austin Aries was getting ready for Bobby Roode and some of the other and some of the other shots, there were big questions as to whether Austin Aries was main event material, whether he could handle competing with people who were much bigger than him. And, Bully Ray and Austin Aries, the short feud they had, really proved that, yeah, Austin Aries can pretty much handle anybody, regardless of size.
No, yeah, they really legitimized him because, he's coming from the X division where the guys are mostly cruiserweights, and then going up against someone with the size and the renown of Bully Ray. And Mike, what you were saying about, him being in his 40s and kind of coming alive, I don't know if it's a renaissance so much, but he's been a tag team wrestler. So he's been, cutting mic promos, and he was basically the mouth of Team 3D throughout their entire career. So this entire time, he's working that muscle, and now he's just doing it in a different way. And I think that kind of like, I don't want to say it's like out of nowhere. I think it's more of a, it's like, I really can't imagine. It'd be like a really good boxer all of a sudden going into MMA and tearing up. It's like, yeah, I mean, he's new to MMA, but this isn't exactly a new thing to him. But regardless, Bully Ray now is just astonishing. Chat saying that Bully Ray is going to be a top star in TNA and possible world heavyweight champion maybe around spring with the lockdown coming up, which is in March or April. I think it's April, isn't it?
I think it's March or April, somewhere around there sounds right. I forget exactly when it is.
So Bully Ray holding the belt in 3 to 4 months. What do you guys think about that one?
It's a way to build a new face in terms of that. Then Bully Ray can keep hold the title. He'll probably keep it for a couple of 3 months maybe, and then someone will just get a mega feud with him, build it up, and then from there. March. Okay, sorry. Just go from there. I think Bully Ray will bring out the best in someone though. I mean, he's so good.
Okay. All right. So now that we've had the good, let's now jump over to the bad. Let's do a couple of these. Chavo Guerrero's arrival and his first stint in TNA. Let's be honest, guys. This has been bad. There is no real upside to this.
When he initially came in, he actually did look good. He had speed to him. Something that he had been lacking in WWE for quite some time before he left there. But since then, man, he's slowed down. He's gone back to the same old rhetoric. It's like, man, it's a fresh start. Why don't you reinvent yourself?
Yeah, I partially disagree with it. His arrival was great. The first promo he cut and everything, that was all really good.
It was all right.
Initially, when he started off, it was pretty good. But since being in the tag team, it's really he's really gone back to the cookie cutter. I'm going to try to be Eddie Guerrero, and he's not Eddie Guerrero. He never will be Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah, Rob, it's not just cookie cutter; it's cookie gutter. It's just bad.
I disagree.
I always felt that Chavo was he was a good hand in the ring. He was a decent worker, but outside of doing Eddie Guerrero mannerisms, he really didn't have any real connection with the crowd. He was just always one of those like mechanics that you have at like the something like around like the bottom third of the card, like top of the bottom third of the card.
Well, that not only that, Mike, but to me, as I've looked over Chavo's career, he's never been good as a tag team wrestler. So TNA's decision to make him a tag team wrestler really baffles the hell out of me. I mean, he's never been a strong tag team guy.
That doesn't baffle me.
I disagree. When he teamed with Eddie, obviously Eddie carried the load of it, but they were a good tag team. I think that's maybe what they're trying to reinvent in TNA or bring to TNA.
See, what I find about Chavo that's one, interesting, and two, kind of a shame, is that the one time he really got a shot to invent himself as a whole completely different character, not being a Guerrero, not doing the Eddie stuff, was when he was Kerwin White. And you're going to laugh and you're just like, oh God, Joe, you're bringing up Kerwin White again. But really, that was a huge departure from everything he was doing, and it was Eddie's death that brought him back to the same old, same old. I understand the respect issue on it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I get the move. But it was like the one time he was doing something out of the box and something he could really make his own.
Yeah, I mean, it was the Cruiserweight Championship we won, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. It wasn't that bad with that. I thought it was quite funny, actually, to be quite honest.
I used to like what he did with Pepe. I thought that was funny stuff.
Pepe.
What the hell were the name? Who did the hell did they face? It's like the Mexi someone's.
The Mexicools?
Mexicools, that's the one.
Yeah, where they came out on the riding lawnmower with super crazy Hunico and
we don't have to bring that up at all.
That was so funny.
God, it was just that's a black mark on wrestling as a whole. All right, a chance asking, does anyone else think that Hernandez has outshined Chavo since they formed the tag team? Yeah, me. Every week I go on about how I'm more excited to see Hernandez than Chavo, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
But what is Hernandez? But outside of this, Hernandez has been like, yeah, I guess I'm on payroll.
Yeah, right. But I mean, when I look at this,
I don't think he's doing anything that's revolutionary from what he did before. I don't think he's pushable for anything.
No, I disagree, Joe. I think he's grown, maybe not enough character-wise, but
not in the ring.
No. But moveset-wise, he's tried a few different things that have been very different from his normal kind of like giant, shove the guy around type of character. He's done a lot more cruiserweight stuff. You can tell that Chavo's having an influence on him as far as his acrobatic work. Maybe not so much mat technician type stuff, but he's
I wouldn't look at either one for mat technician, I'll tell you that.
So, yeah, I mean, we're not getting Ken Shamrock, but he has grown as a wrestler since this tag team, and Chavo clearly has not.
And what I like about Hernandez is that Hernandez realizes that he hasn't hit his full potential yet. When TNA asked him to go down to AAA and develop himself a bit, he went down with no problem. Hernandez seems to show to me that he's willing to work to improve himself, to get himself where TNA and he would like him to be. Chavo seems to be content to just kind of cruise and, well, I'm going to give respect to Eddie Guerrero by trying to do his moves badly.
Mm-hmm. All right, so as far as 2012 goes, the big thing that came out of TNA as far as segment-wise was Gut Check. We saw the debut of this segment. Now, given the thing as a whole, the creation, implementation, all the ways that it's worked, how do you guys feel about it? Do you think Gut Check has been a success? Have you seen fails in it? Has it been mostly wins? What do you think about this? Let's kick it to Rob first.
I think on the whole, Gut Check has been really good for TNA. It drove interest up in TNA. People always like to see, kind of like the inside glance at how the wrestling business works. And I don't think Gut Check actually does that, but to the average fan, I could see where the perception would be there. And they've gotten some good talent out of it that has since ended up in OVW for further development before they come out. And it's added some great talent to the roster like Christian York. So on the whole, I like it, and I think it's been a win for TNA.
Okay.
I'm going to disagree with that one.
So am I.
Of course you are.
Of course. I think it was a great concept. I think in theory it was going to do well, and you're right. Initially it did bring eyes to TNA. I think on the whole, though, because as fans, we haven't seen a huge amount of the talent that's been on there appearing back on the screen, at least not from the viewing that I've done. Guys like Christian York, yes, I'll give you that.
Joey
Ryan.
But Joe, hang on. What's Christian York done?
Well, he had a match on Impact.
He had a match on Impact.
Christian York has nearly beaten Jeff Hardy for the world title. Or not for the world title. He nearly beat Jeff Hardy. He had a hell of a match with RVD.
Did he beat him? Did he beat RVD?
No.
Did he? No, he didn't.
But the wrestling business isn't about wins and losses. It's about can you put on a
tell
great
that
match.
to the title holders.
But unfortunately, he needs to make it some form of impact. To be, if you're going to go in there, you need to make an impact. You can't kick off with losing constantly, otherwise you're just going to go down and down and down.
Well, hang on though. The only person who's really made any appreciable dent since being on Gut Check is Joey Ryan, and technically he didn't even win. He did come up through Gut Check, and he has had, some success, but his entire on-screen persona, he's the only one out of all of these, and he wasn't even the first one out of all of these that have really done anything with it. Ken, what do you think?
Well, with the whole gut check, I enjoy the concept, and the concept is very different in regards to bringing up a younger talent or somebody from the quote unquote minor leagues, I guess you could say. And it's different than what WWE did with Tough Enough. It wasn't a full competition. It was just one person's story, one person paid attention, and each month you got to learn about this person, and then finally, they had their show on TNA, and were they able to pass or not. But the thing is that you have these people play, and you have these people, fight the lowest, minus really Doug Williams, the lowest of the low in regards to who they're fighting against for their opponent and their tryout. And it's not people that I would really think, and minus Joey Ryan, who had awesome areas, I guess, too. But you're talking Zema Ion, who, while probably one of the greater heels of 2012, is not really a good wrestler in TNA. Now, mind you, his Shima Zion, I think, is his former name, self. Yeah. He is a good wrestler. He has the potential to be a good wrestler, but his TNA wrestling is just not that good to me. But you have, Christian York did Zema Ion. You had Wes Briscoe do Garrett Bischoff. And I see somebody mentioned that Ion was a champion. But again, wins and losses mean nothing.
Right.
Yeah, but I feel like when you come into a company and especially on gut check, you kind of need to prove yourself. And fair play. I understand you need to have a good match, but at some point there is a point where you do have to start winning. Because if you don't start winning, you will just fall into that category where the fans just see you as, oh, he's going to lose.
Well, why not face them against a high mid card or a low high card to where they're going to lose, and that's okay that they lose.
Yeah, but at the same time, I agree with you. I'm completely.
Yeah, I mean, who gets a shot after they beat Garrett Bischoff? I mean, I can beat Garrett Bischoff.
That's why I like the idea. That's why
I can say I want fries with that.
I see that, and if I had to propose any changes to gut check, that would be one thing that I would suggest is that use somebody like Doug Williams, use an experienced veteran who's been in the ring and can really help some of the rawer talents that you get. I don't like sending in a rookie to fight a rookie. That's just asking for bad things to happen. But overall, I think the segment's done a bit better than most people expected it would.
I agree, and really what I'm saying is about half of the gut checks were really, really the ones that I don't like. Garrett Bischoff, Jima Ion, Gunner, and Robbie E. Those are the four that I just really, really don't like. But these guys, minus Christian York and Joey Ryan, you haven't really heard too much about it. So you bring them up, you tell their story, and then you almost literally forget about them unless you pay attention to OVW.
Exactly.
Right.
That's a big point. No, sorry, Rob, very quickly. That was a massive point. If they are going to forget them, it's been, how long has it been since it started? 5-6 months now, is it? Or is it a bit
April.
Less? April.
So the question I have for you guys is, would you rather, because it seems like what they're doing is they're picking up people outside of the TNA universe, bringing them in, and then kicking them to the developmentals to work them out. What if they shifted gears with Gut Check a little bit and brought up the best and the brightest from OVW, people who are ready to come up?
That makes a lot more sense.
So then you would basically you would think whoever's the top 3 or 4 talent in OVW, you have experience with them, you've been writing for them, they're already in the system for payroll, so you don't have to worry about pissing off HR. You would then bring these people up for Gut Check, and then that way the rig is starting.
I would bring up some of the high mid card to low. I wouldn't necessarily bring the top guys because you're going to need those guys to help train your lower card in OVW. But I mean, yeah, you bring in some higher rated talent in OVW. Or instead of bringing them to TNA to push them down to OVW, just bring them, into OVW and then push or, elevate them from there. Kind of like WWE's doing with FTW.
Well, what you can do.
Or FCW, I'm sorry.
There it is.
One thing you can do, first of all, we did see...
We make people, damn it!
We do. We made awesome air.
First of all,
Kingmakers.
All of the Gut Check winners did appear on the Thanksgiving episode of Impact.
That doesn't count.
Yeah,
how were the ratings on that episode?
That's a throwaway episode.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was a throwaway episode.
They might as well put them on the Christmas Raw.
They might
The point
have.
is they appeared on an Impact. Now, secondly, one thing you could do is And I've noticed they've been doing this with like Joseph Park. You know, they keep showing his updates with him in OVW, and a lot of the gut check winners have actually appeared in those training sessions. Why not do something like that with the gut check winners who are doing well in OVW? Why not show us periodic updates as to how they're doing?
Well, I think that would be good, but there's a lot of these talented people that they're bringing in, and one of my fails, and I'm sorry if I'm going into it, but the 2012 Destination X, which was a great pay-per-view, but I consider it almost a fail because you have all these guys that you brought in who put on entertaining shows. More specifically, Rubik's Jigsaw for the Shikara fans. Rubik's probably put on the best shows between his Impact Wrestling show when he was on the actual show as well as the pay-per-view. And to not have these guys anywhere close to being signed with TNA just confuses the hell out of me, because really the only person out of all of that to do very, very well was Kenny King, but in the end, you didn't have like Mason Andrews is nowhere to be found, Scorpio Sky, Black G's, Dakota Darsow. I mean, these guys just showed up for a pay-per-view and then left.
I agree with you on that one wholeheartedly. There were a number of talents from that mini tournament leading up to Destination X that TNA should have signed, or that TNA should at least have an OVW.
Why would you bring him
weren't there
into
even
one
a couple of
pay-per-view?
guys? Weren't there even a couple of guys from that mini tournament who WWE then picked up to job to Ryback?
Scorpio Sky.
I think Scorpio Sky and Black G's both did either, like, I think one was before Destination X and one was after Destination X.
Okay.
Scorpio Sky was definitely afterwards because he was in this segment as well with.
Then it was Black G's was the one before. He was like on the Raw before.
Gotta work, get paid, yeah.
Speaking of which, the X Division as a whole, when we're thinking Zema Ion as champion or whatever we're talking about, the X Division in 2012, how do you guys think it was? Do you see promise in there? Do you think that it started out great and then towards the end of the year, we're still talking about how much of just a disaster this thing is? I mean, do you see 2013 being a better year for it? Do you think it's doing okay despite everything?
I think it kind of has to be a better year.
They have to really retool that division.
Yeah,
I think the biggest problem the X Division had this year was there were a lot of key injuries, and TNA didn't really recover from that. One of the other reasons why I think getting Eric Bischoff off TV was a good idea was that, Eric Bischoff really seemed to be down on the X Division, and you still occasionally hear backstage rumors of him and TNA creative going back and forth because he's not a big fan of the creative of the X Division. I think Lee's right. I think 2013 it really can't get any worse.
I just think that they're kind of like there's no I think Garth just said it. He just said they're not getting any consistent TV time. There's no real consistency to what they do. Like they kind of like push it when Destination X comes around, then it just goes flat for the rest of the year, and there's no constant thing to it. It's as if there's no planning. It's just on a week by week basis. We'll see what happens and then go from there. And They're doing nothing to build it, and that's one of TNA's strong points as well.
Right, I was just about to say that the X Division is one of the things that put TNA on the map, so they need to start giving them consistent TV time because, look at the WWE has almost no respect for cruiserweights, and that's one thing that was helping TNA gain a lot of fans was the fact that you could go and you could see the cruiserweights, the high flying types in TNA.
Oh.
You could watch these. You could watch these unique, innovative guys doing a lot of cool stuff. And then since Hogan and Bischoff have come in, the X Division has kind of been pushed off to the side.
Yeah, I was just about to say that, Hogan and Bischoff come in. Bischoff, I credit him, he he did start the whole cruiserweight division up in WCW, but to him, they were more of just like a transition at the top of the hour to throw in a athletic match, to contrast Hogan, and, the Big Show was there. So, I mean, he never really saw these cruiserweight guys as something you can, build your company around or have them main event pay-per-views. And I think, when he came into TNA, they had a great division there, and it just seemed like they just slowly dismantled it, and they just defined it down so much to where now I think they have to completely retool that division. Having RVD as champion right now, I guess it's, he's a safe guy to have it on, until they figure out what they want to do with it.
Chat says that this is why TNA should be 3 hours, or even have Explosion as the hour show just for the X division.
Okay. Let's just start off by saying
another
no
3-hour
wrestling show. Yeah. No wrestling show should be 3 hours.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of TNA Impact. I don't think I could watch Impact for 3 hours every week. I mean,
okay, well, what about the idea?
And this is coming from Mr. TNA.
Okay, what about the idea of X Division, like Explosion being like a Saturday afternoon, Saturday morning show or whatever, and that would just be X Division wrestling?
That would be a great start to retooling the X Division as a whole. I think that would really help, and it would give TNA an idea of what to do. I mean, you'd be seeing these guys consistently. It would really help start pushing storylines, and TNA could find a way to work that into Impact and to pay-per-views. I think having Explosion as an hour-long show and make it all X Division would really, really help.
Can you watch Explosion here in the States?
Well, that's one thing they'd have to change.
Oh, can you not see? Oh, yeah, I forgot you can't see it up there.
Well, it's one of those things like, yeah, you can if you're willing to hunt around for it. All right, so when we kick this out to everybody, as far as the good, the bad, the win, the fail of TNA, one name above all others came up repeatedly, honestly, on both sides, and that is none other than Jeff Hardy.
Yes.
It's amazing. He got almost as many wins as he did fails, all for a variety of reasons. Some are saying, his ability to turn that leaf and stay sober, and to win the world championship at Bound for Glory. Other people saying the actual reign was terrible. They think it was a mistake because it undermined, all the promising championship angles for other talents. They're saying, Rob listened to his album. People saying, him on a whole, that TNA kind of went to bat for him. He showed that so TNA went, okay, we're going to stand by you and give you the belt. It's one of those things where this was the most controversial, from both, and I swear to you, both TNA and WWE, he was the most controversial person we had on this. So let's kick it out to you guys. Jeff Hardy.
I kind of want to break down the fourth wall here. I'm sorry, guys. But before the show, we had to talk Rob off the ledge after listening to Jeff Hardy's album.
They did. They really did, man. God, that was horrible.
So here we are. Jeff Hardy.
You want to know how bad the Jeff Hardy album was? I would rather live tweet Impact than listen to Jeff Hardy's album again.
Oh, I wish you would live tweet Impact, man. Seriously. Don't worry, guys. I'm going to live tweet Impact. I'm going to write some blog posts and live tweet Impact. Sure, Rob. Yeah, have fun with that.
So here we go. On the podcast now, Harrison is the bad wrestler porn watcher, and now Rob is the bad CD, music listener for the show.
That's what it is. Harrison watches the bad movies and reviews them. I listen to the bad music and review it.
Words,
all right,
trouble.
So Jeff Hardy, the guy, the talent, the rise, the fall, whatever you want to talk, whatever. Okay, fine. Let's just divide this up. What good can you say about Jeff Hardy? And try and keep the cynicism out of it. Let's legitimately talk about Jeff Hardy in TNA. What good can you talk about with him?
I think it's really good that he seems to be serious in turning around. Like one of the fans said, he's staying sober. He's not having some of the problems that he had earlier on in TNA, like obviously coming to the ring stoned and out of it.
Oh God, they shouldn't laugh at that.
TNA has really rallied behind and showed a lot of faith in him, and he seems to be repaying that faith. I'll give him credit for that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff, no matter what pitfalls he's gone through, is still a draw for younger fans. I'm going to give props to him for at least this past week on Impact. The minuscule segment he had at the end of the show where he came down and got involved, he wasn't wearing the face paint. I think Jeff without the face paint, maybe a smarter move. It's less cartoon character and a little more serious. But I think, as much as I am not necessarily a Jeff Hardy fan, I think he does still have some potential if he can keep his act together. I have a hard time with his mic work, but, Jeff's still a draw for younger fans.
Yeah, I think one of the things that TNA did right is I don't agree with the timing of putting the title on him, but it was the right move because Jeff Hardy is the biggest name that TNA has. He is the most recognizable full-time wrestler on their roster. So, putting their top title on the top guy, that's not a bad move. I just didn't really agree with when they put it on him.
So very quickly, Mike, just based on that. So would you put the title on John Cena in WWE?
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
If I owned WWE and it was my money, he would be the guy I'd go with.
Okay. I'm going to rip you to shreds later on, but okay, that's fine.
This is, for me, I respect Jeff Hardy. I respect the hell out of you. I really do. I love your brother, and I respect the hell out of you. But I don't. I mean, on the one hand, yeah. I mean, I think it's more of a classy move on TNA's part than really Jeff Hardy. I mean, the fact is, this guy, how many more years does he really have left on him? I mean, he's kind of destroyed himself. Years of the style of wrestling that he does, plus the drug abuse. You're looking at maybe a half dozen years at most, and it's not going to be a slow, gradual, elegant decline. This is going to be like watching a train wreck in slow motion. So TNA turning to him, giving him the belt, says, I think, more about TNA than it does him. And I think it was them showing their roster, saying, we will back you. We will help you through this. And if you show us that you're willing to work on this, we'll be there for you. And I think to me, it's more a thing about TNA than Jeff Hardy, really. Lee, what do you got?
I think it's more to do with TNA wanting to stay under contract with them more than anything else. Obviously, putting it on the top guy is sensible. It's smart. As Q-Patch said, it's sensible and smart. But at the same time, his contract was coming up. He constantly said he was unsure at the time, and TNA wanted to probably just sweeten the deal a little bit, keep him on board, keep him happy with that. And I think another thing that the reason he's champion as well is because it's so obvious to anyone who's involved in wrestling that Jeff Hardy is easily the biggest guy in TNA to make merchandise. He's absolutely, every event you go to, there'll be at least a quarter of the crowd wearing something with Jeff Hardy. I think we said it on the show a few weeks ago, actually. Every time you go to a TNA show, there's something, about a quarter of the crowd have something Jeff Hardy related. It's just that popular.
I mean, he's a walking he's a walking Hot Topic store. That's what he is.
Lee, are you saying that, Velvet Sky merchandise targeted at young girls is not going to fly off the shelves? Come on.
Well, I'm just saying the chances are there's probably going to be more guys that buy posters of her, and there's probably going to be more girls that buy posters of Jeff Hardy, the sexual appeal, big bang.
Boy, can I relate.
Yeah, but how many how many of TNA's women's fans look more like Velvet Sky or Miss Assmacher than ODB?
Let's not do this. All right,
wait, Harrison, let me just answer the question.
God.
I think due to market research that's been proven that there's potentially less people who look like that. That's fair play. But TNA, if you look on TNA pay-per-view or TNA broadcast, you look on the first row of TNA, you will see guaranteed a hot girl because TNA likes.
Yeah, they're smart about that. Yeah, they get all the hot women in the show, and they go, "Here, you're going to be sitting right here, camera center, and then we're going to put you right there."
That's an Eric Bischoff special when he started doing WCW and he took over and he was doing those TV tapings
Nitro
at
Girls?
Disney. What's that? No,
The Nitro Girls?
No, not that. Going even before then, when they were doing like worldwide tapings at Disney, he said that he would look around the crowd, that he would hire models just to sit in the front row just to try to change the perception of the type of people thought watched pro wrestling.
It's the details, man. It's the details.
Yeah, the problem with that though is that half the crowd is focusing on the front row rather than the match.
And I mean, and it's really no different than like when Lee's family does a family portrait, they replace him with like a fern or something.
Oh,
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Fine, I'm still eating meat at the end of the day. I don't care.
All right.
Bet
So,
you are, buddy.
Jeff Hardy. Moving on. Let's go to the big pains that we got from you guys. Besides Jeff Hardy's album, the Kaz Daniels, Claire Lynch, AJ Styles, Dixie Carter clusterfuck. That was that storyline.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that was terrible. Steve wrote in saying Zema Ion actually just being the X Division champion. Do you want to give a shout out for him for that? Adam said, giving the TV title prominence and purpose about every 30 days, only to then not follow through, which I know is a big pet peeve for Garvin. Rob.
It's supposed to be every week they're supposed to do
a
TV title match.
Yeah. And they don't even do it for every 30 days. It's not even every pay-per-view. That thing's not even be defended. Rob saying Jeff Hardy's reign as a world champion, undermining promising championship angles for other talents. Other people wrote in saying Tara's painful heel angle with Jesse. Yeah, I hate that so much. Only because Jesse gets to make out with her and everything, but whatever. And TNA dropping the ball with using Tara as a heel. And then here it is. This is the other thing I wanted to talk about real quick before we discuss TNA as a whole in 2012, and that is the Aces and Eights storyline. How are you guys feeling about this? I mean, we're still in the middle of it, all right? Or, God, I hope the middle of it. I hope we're not interested in the beginning of it. But regardless, it's kind of the dominant storyline in TNA. It's the one that they're going with every single week. How do you guys feel about it as a whole? Do you think it's kind of been...
I think it's the worst thing TNA's done in 2012.
No, I'm sorry. Nothing beats that AJ storyline. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
sorry, Mike. You're wrong on so many levels there.
Yeah.
I actually find, on the whole, the Aces and Eights storyline to be a positive thing because it's a major storyline that's taking more than 3 months to do, and they're sticking with it.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Joe. This is where you're wrong there. Like, I agree they should be doing storylines over, the amount of months to make it bigger. But the fact that Aces and Eights haven't barely won a match on a big pay-per-view, they're getting pointless now.
Right, but if you look at it though, for Aces and Eights to truly play by all the rules and win matches, it doesn't, I guess, fit the gimmick per se right now. I think that I like the idea that Aces and Eights is here and all the guys are wearing masks, and slowly but surely we're getting every guy revealed.
Yeah, and I just think it's starting to just drag on now, though.
I'll agree with you on that. I'm not saying it's not, but I'm saying I think on the whole it's been positive for the year. Is it dragging? Yes.
I do think,
but on the whole, I think it's good.
I think it's filled a gap where they could have been struggling. Is what I'm going to say to that. But I don't think it's one of the best points of 2012 overall. I do think it's been entertaining at points, but in just other points, it's been just. There's been some bits that have just been mind-blowingly awful. Some bits have been great, but I won't put it as one of the top things of 2012. I won't lie.
Okay, no, we'll be discussing that in a minute. Chat's actually looking ahead, and they're saying, but they're using this slow storyline to ruin anything entertaining in the show. And they're also bringing up the fact that this is going to end up being stopped by Sting and Hogan, probably. And then that's what they suffer through. Like, this is the payoff. We have to go through Aces and Eights. It started interesting. It's kind of dragging now, if you want to look at it that way. And then at the end of the tunnel is Sting and Hogan standing there. The geriatric express ready to slow this train down. And that's our payoff. And if that's the case, I can't see a scenario where you can say this was a success. Can anybody?
Not yet.
No.
I know it's reaching.
If it ends up being Sting and Hogan by themselves that stop this, there's no way that this turns out to be a win. But they've connected, but TNA has made some, TNA has done a decent job, and I'll stress decent, not good, at connecting some of the smaller lines to the bigger storyline. Like, for instance, we've got Austin Aries. His justification for the heel turn, Hogan picked him to fight Aces and Eights and and then jumped on the Jeff Hardy bandwagon, tossing Austin Aries off to the side. That actually makes a bit of sense and is one of the better justifications for a heel turn I've heard a wrestler make.
Mm-hmm.
So it serves a purpose on that level.
Okay, that's a fair point, but really, all of this for a heel turn?
Well, I'm not
for a guy that.
Right, I'm not saying that alone justifies the entire Aces and Eights storyline. They have to find something good to do with the storyline, and at times, like I've said before, it looks like they're making this shit up week by week, and we saw another aspect of that last Impact, I think it was, when Aces and Eights talked to Mr. Anderson and it seems like Aces and Eights are trying to recruit Anderson to help them out. That makes no sense because the last time Aces and Eights and Mr. Anderson met was Aces and Eights beating him down and leaving him in a pool of his own blood. And Anderson even made reference to that in the meeting.
Do you think maybe they turned the wrong man? Like, when they, when Aries turned heel, do you reckon they turned the wrong guy?
Who would you rather have turned?
See, I'm not terribly sure about that, but maybe Aries was on a roll and he had the backing of the crowd. It was all there. To turn him at that point may have been the wrong click.
I agree with that. I think Aries is...
Wasn't he pretty heelish when he was getting cheered,
really.
though?
No, not really.
Not really. He was
initially he was a heel and getting cheered by the fans, but he was a heel.
Yeah,
I know.
But he wasn't. But as much of a heel as he was more of an entertaining kind of heel. I mean, he's making fun of the wrestlers. It was really easy for the crowd to kind of get behind him. Stuff like when he's fighting Jesse Sorensen, he takes the football from Jesse Sorensen and is running around at ringside. It's really easy for the crowd to get behind a heel like that. But I think he was doing really well as a face. Mm-hmm. I am kind of surprised that TNA decided, let's make him a heel.
It was kind of the story that made him, a face. The fact that he won it and he won in such good style. Just to turn him on, not straight away, but nearly straight away, it was a bit, it just seemed a bit, they'd given up pretty quickly on that, on the way they were going originally.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's not get too bogged down in details here. We're talking about 2012 as a whole. Now, as far as 2012, I'm going to ask you guys individually. We're going to do this Ask FTW style. One, was 2012 successful for TNA? And two, what are you looking forward to most in 2013? Rob.
2012 as a whole was successful for TNA. 2013, I'm looking for TNA to keep the trend going, and I'm looking for anybody to take the belt off of Jeff Hardy.
All right.
Would you listen to another album if they took it off him?
If they took the belt off of him, I might consider sitting through that piece.
Here's a triple live CD from Jeff Hardy. Here you go, Rob. You listen to this, we'll take it off.
triple live CD.
Coming to you live from Matt's basement.
No, from Matt's hot tub. They're just in the hot tub recording it. God, I'll never get that image out of my head.
If Rabbi Sky's there, who the hell cares? That's fine. It's a win-win situation.
No, she's actually out. She's out working at some show.
Joe, shut up.
Jeff and Matt.
Shut up.
All right. So 2012 was a success. What are you looking for most in 2013, Lee?
I'm going to completely disagree, Rob, and I'm going to say no, it wasn't successful. And I'm going to say that purely based on the fact that their viewership has actually gone down this year. Their overall, the wrestling in TNA has been a lot better. It's been a lot better, and some of the stories have been really good as well. Don't get me wrong, but as a business point of view, it's not been the best of years for TNA, in my opinion. What I'm looking forward to is to try and build on the X division more than anything, because I really think that needs going on. I'm looking forward to hopefully Austin Aries coming back into the spotlight again, and Bully Ray mainly. I hope to see some of the gut check guys as well, to be honest, because some of them really did look good, and I do hope they build on that as such. Actually make characters out of them.
Okay. Joe, 2012 a success, and what are you looking for most in 2013? Excuse me.
I can't say 2012 was a success, but I can't say it was a failure either. I think it had a lot of ups and downs. I think that a lot of the negatives took away from the strong positives. You had not AJ Styles, because no, that is not a positive right now. You had Austin Aries, the rise of Austin Aries, the further development of Bully Ray. Even I'm trying to go over my head just all the plethora of names here.
We don't have just broad outline it. You don't
right,
have to,
but I mean, like, you get those, like, just those two particular points that were great positives. But then you have the Claire Lynch storyline, which is a huge negative. The bringing in of Brooke Hogan for some fucking reason.
Joe, I'm just going to explain to you now that the guy who I'm just shut up, you. So the guy who not runs TNA, but the guy, what's his name?
Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan. Yeah, he has.
Just because he's sleeping with her doesn't mean she needs a job there.
Oh my god.
Well, I'm just saying, that's just stuff that happens, and that's how business works. If you sleep with.
No, I understand that. I just think I don't like the idea. I do like Taryn Terrell though as the knockouts referee. I think it's a smart move to actually get someone who has some ring knowledge to be, worked as a wrestler to be a referee. I do dig that. Okay. 2013. I am looking forward to more well-developed characters, the continuation of great wrestling, and hopefully the rumors will stop that Hulk Hogan is actually going to get more surgery so that he can wrestle in 2013 and win the TNA championship.
Oh, dear God.
Okay. Mike, what do you got?
I would say that TNA broke even in 2012. They, like Joe said, there are a lot of ups and downs, but I think ultimately, at the end of the day, I think they've positioned themselves to where 2013 could be a successful year for them. Come again?
What was your most successful point of TNA in 2012 for you?
They've done like a lot of small things that were right. I think going live is good that'll be good for them. Getting away from some of like the non-TNA, like going with more TNA guys like James Storm and Robert Root. He had a good year. With everything I say.
I'm just agreeing with you. No. I know you heavily watch TNA, so I'm just agreeing with you. Points, so.
I definitely watch it every day. So I mean, there's a lot of little things that they did right, and I think like I said, 2013, I think they're positioned where they could have a good year. What I'm looking forward to is
So you're looking forward to
All right,
somebody kick Mike so we can reset him.
All right, so for me, 2012, yeah, I think it's a wash. They're as the baseline is kind of going up, but they have these huge slip ups that they've had, like the X division. That they don't know what they're doing with that. They don't know what they're doing with the Knockouts division. The big storylines that they want to hang their hats on have been, by and large, a wash between good. I mean, you have decent storylines, bordering on good, and then these absolutely abysmal, horrifyingly awful crap that they decided to throw on TV. As far as what I'm looking forward to most in 2013 is, well, I would say it's more of it's the fact that we're kind of getting rid of the old guard of old WCW guys, the TNA guys, just because time is catching up with them. And then eventually what we're going to do is we're going to start getting the TNA homegrown people, guys who haven't wrestled in WWE, who didn't make a name for themselves in other companies. They're going to start to come up into their own, like Austin Aries and James Storm and people like that. I think 2013 going forward, that's the one thing that'll be really nice to see. And I hope, as long as TNA doesn't get bought out. The chat says in 2013 they're looking most forward. Oh man, most forward to Mike Knox's beard when he finally gets unmasked. They're also looking forward to James Storm's world title win and a lot of new young talent. 2012 was successful. Don't forget the TNA's YouTube live streaming. They were doing that before WWE did it. And there was the revival of Samoa Joe, which revived him, and he didn't go away 2 months later because of his own stupid mistakes. So good for him on that.
Can I ask one more question about TNA before we
Sure,
move on?
go ahead.
One name that I noticed that's missing from these good and bad lists. What kind of year do you guys think Kurt Angle had?
I think he did about as well as someone at his age. And
it was nice and relaxing.
Yeah, he's on his way out. You can kind of tell. He's only got so many years left, and so I think he did all right.
I think I think the year picked up for him a lot once the Jarretts got written off, and thus he wasn't forced to continually job to Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah, that's true.
Outside of that, I think the low point was TNA pushing this idea that Kurt Angle was going to try out for the Olympic team when nobody who seriously follows wrestling believed that or believed that he had a chance of making the Olympic team. And then to cover that up, they're like, well, you know, Kurt had he hurt his knee. That's why he didn't try out.
He took an arrow to the knee and then he couldn't do it anymore.
Keep telling yourself that, Kurt.
I'm kind of surprised that when he didn't make the Olympic team, he didn't like go on and say that his Twitter account was hacked and that was what was saying he was trying out for the Olympics.
Wasn't it CM Punk who said that's the new "I'm sorry for being an asshole"?
Yeah.
They called him out on it.
So someone said that my Twitter account was hacked is the new drunk call.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was Punk that said that. It was either Punk or Jericho. It was one of the two. Chat's saying that Angle had a bad year. They did not want to make them see him more. Yeah, I can see that. He's in that situation where he's only his best days are behind him, and I really think he's only going to get worse. So it's at what point do you just pull the ripcord? I mean, it's cynical and it's a horrible thing to say, but that's it. And that was our TNA 2012 year in review. Now let's jump on over to WWE for our WWE 2012 year in review. Let's just kick the first thing out to you. Probably the biggest thing that happened to WWE this past year would be the return of The Rock. Steven actually wrote this in as a good. A couple of people wrote this in actually as a bad. Not as many people were as divided on this as Jeff Hardy. But The Rock's return as a whole. Do you think this was good for the WWE? Do you think it paid off? Did you like the build? Did you like the actual Rock versus Cena match at WrestleMania? What are you feeling on this one?
Just look at the buy rate of WrestleMania. That's all you have to know is if the Rock's return was good or bad. Just look at the buy rate. That's all that matters.
Yeah. See, I disagree. I disagree. I mean, granted, the buy rate was good, but I think that on the whole, I think for wrestling it's bad because, I mean, if we go back, he's just it's going back to an era that we don't need to keep going back to. We need to build. The WWE needs to build on what they've got now and going forward. Don't keep going back.
I mean,
I think. Sorry, Rob.
Okay, thanks. No problem. I think one of the big things that made this bad was the fact that there was a lot of truth to CM Punk coming out and making the shot. Well, because it's Dwayne, he gets whatever he wants. And there was a lot of backstage discontent in WWE that, The Rock suddenly came back and got everything he wanted, and now we're even talking about the possibility of him getting a title shot, and he's strictly a part-time wrestler. That combined with, like what Joe said, it continuing to go back to an era that has come and gone, and that the WWE can't go back to. They don't have the talent to go back to, and their own little limitations won't let them go back to. All of those reasons, I think, make it just really bad.
Well, if that's the case, then I'm going to look at the wins for WWE this year and say, well, then you have to take the return of Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar off there. You have to take Undertaker going 20-0 off there. The return of Chris Jericho, that can't be a good
okay, the only thing in your list that I don't think that should be I think the Taker thing being that is essentially a tradition for WrestleMania. You can weigh it if it was good or bad, but I think continuing the streak because he was wrestling, I think that's a wash. I think it's something you can't consider. Everything else you listed, I would agree with you. Shouldn't be in a good list.
I do agree with the fact that WWE, the whole Rock thing, I think it was good for them, but I also think I think there's two ways of looking at this. Obviously, Mike's right with the buy rate. It was a great buy rate. There's no doubt about that. But the build was pretty mediocre. In terms of, like, if you were watching up and I didn't really get that excited. But when the match came along itself, I was really excited. It was a good match. I don't really know why people had a massive issue with it, because that was a really good match. It was a good main event. It started off, if I remember right, pretty slow, but it got brilliant. It just got tense as hell. That's what you want.
I think I had more interest in the Tron Light Cycle that was sitting on the stage when Rock came out than I did for the actual match. I think that was I think Rock needed a ton of in-ring work he needed to do before they could even fathom having him in the ring, and yet they threw him out there anyway. He was slow. Cena carried him through the whole freaking match. It was horrible.
I think they're wrong.
There were more than a few times during the match where Cena had to slow down so that The Rock could keep up, which is something that, as a Rock fan, when he was in his prime, I never thought I'd see. And if you want to go on buy rates, it's freaking WrestleMania. The buy rates are going to be through the roof anyways because
Rob, you're wrong. No, Rob, I'm sorry, you're wrong there. You are wrong. If you look at WrestleMania buy rates from a few years ago, they were not good compared to this one. They're about 400,000 less. It's not just about WrestleMania. But I completely disagree with what you and Joe are saying, though. The WrestleMania main event, it was good. It was tense. It was what you wanted from the WrestleMania main event match. You didn't know who was going to win. It was unpredictable, and the guys
except for the fact that it was the freaking main event. It should have been a mid-card match. That was a terrible match.
What would
That's
you
like
put
saying
on the main event?
Right now, I would probably say
no. You can't have the advantage of hindsight. If you'd have
no. Looking on paper, I think Chavo Guerrero against Heath Slater probably would have been right on par because you didn't know who was going to win.
No. That's an unfair comparison, Lee. No, it's an unfair question. It's an unfair comparison because, like you said, you got the advantage of hindsight now.
The fact that you're saying that the WrestleMania main event was bad is wrong because it wasn't bad at all. It really wasn't.
I think it was one of the most terrible WrestleMania main events in the last 6 years.
Yeah,
I'd
agree with Joe on that one.
Well, wait a minute. How come when Joe says something as X as the past number of years, you guys don't immediately jump down his throat about it? But when I do
because I said it was 6, I didn't go back 30 plus years and say this one little thing that just started is better than 30 years of work.
I think in a grand scale is what I think. Everything with me is big.
That's not true according to your wife.
That's funny. Anyway, so you're telling me that you're going to remember, something like, what was the main event of the WrestleMania, last year's WrestleMania, Miz versus Cena? You're going to remember that more than The Rock versus Cena.
You know what I'm
Yes,
going
I
to
do.
remember about The Rock versus Cena? I'm going to remember the very end of the match where Cena looks up at the crowd and just sighs like, I can't believe I'm going to do this and I'm going to get shit on for it.
No, he did not do that. You're overlooking all this. Cena knew exactly what he has to do. He's a company guy. He'll do whatever he has to do. I think people are just...
Go back and watch the tape, man. You cannot deny that he looks out at the crowd and just like, goddamn.
That's because he lost the match and he was supposed to do that. That's whole part of it. You're overlooking.
I think it was more of a what in the storyline sense of what do I have to do to put this guy away after hitting him with his finishers and the Rock kicking out. I don't think it. When I watched that match, I did not pick up on that. I did not think that for a second.
I think everyone's just overanalyzing it a bit. At the end of the day, there was always going to be one loser, and if Cena won, we'd have probably been kicked off, and we'd have probably been looking back thinking, "Jesus Christ."
I think Cena should have won.
I think Cena should have won too.
They should have passed the torch from the Attitude Era forward,
But
just like when Hogan jobbed to Rock.
How many people would be still talking about that match if Cena won in a good way? I bet.
The only reason we're talking about it is because it was so terrible.
It wasn't so terrible.
It was. Look, the last time the WWE had a big icon match like this, it was Hulk Hogan versus The Rock.
Oh, tell me that's bad. Tell me that was bad.
I'm not going to tell you that was bad. And but it was Hulk Hogan passing the torch from his era to the Attitude Era when The Rock won.
But that wasn't the Attitude Era.
WWE should have kept that trend going, and The Rock should have passed the torch to Cena.
Yeah, but hang on a minute. That was the same year where The Rock left.
And at that time, Hogan was not as big as Cena or Rock were this year. Hogan was at the end of his career. He was a novelty act that Vince McMahon signed. That's all he was. That's what he was used as. He got that. He gave that one match to Rock. That was all he did in his WWE run. I think that the match between Rock and Cena. I mean, Rock he's a movie star, and he was probably arguably one of the top 3, top 4 names ever in, wrestling history. At least, definitely in the last, 10, 20 years. And
if you limit it to 10, 20 years, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
No, definitely. Come on. The guy, he is he's become one of those people that if you put his name on a movie, people buy it. People go see it because he's in it.
Whoa. You're not talking about Dwayne, are you?
No, they say The Rock. Or Dwayne Johnson. What do they bill him as?
But nobody goes to see those movies. Unless you're talking about the Fast and the Furious series, which people are only going to see because the other ones have just...
I'm sure G.I. Joe's going to bomb.
Look, nobody.
Yeah. G.I. Joe's going to be terrible. The guy said... Yeah, the guy has been in blockbuster after blockbuster, and you can't fault him for it. No, I would say he's probably...
He's the only wrestler to make it to that level after leaving wrestling. Hulk Hogan
Suburban Commando.
Hulk Hogan couldn't do it. Roddy Piper didn't do it. All those guys that tried leaving, even Steve Austin hasn't even come close to the level. What's that?
The chaperone.
The Tooth Fairy.
Yeah, Triple H has reached that level. Excuse me.
Thank you.
The Tooth Fairy.
Yeah, the Tooth Fairy. Yeah, there's you can always say that. Anyway,
the only guy who come out of
at least the Tooth Fairy sold
See No Evil. See No Evil.
Hey, it was a good film, that.
Yeah, it actually wasn't a bad film.
Okay, regardless.
So anyway, so they bring him in as a special attraction, and
it worked.
They special attraction they built it up for a year. It did a great buy rate, and I mean, I don't know how you can look at that and say that it wasn't good for WWE. And
it was probably WWE's best thing of the year, looking back at it now.
And I would even say that John Cena Rock match is better than anything TNA did in 2012. Better than any match they put on.
Really?
Do you know why that would be? I understand where he's coming from. No, let me give me a minute. I'll back you up.
Tell me some matches to watch, and I'll watch and I will objectively rate them versus Cena Rock.
Let me back you up on that one. I think the reason he says that is because the quality of the match itself, it was good. It wasn't great. It was good. It was a good match. It was an excellent match, but a lot of it is to do with, the ring presence, the timing, but more importantly, the Rock and Cena, what they did is they created something special. They did certain things, body movements, little signals to the crowd. It made the match. The problem with TNA matches, that's some absolutely brilliant westerns, some great stories. So don't get me wrong, but it doesn't have that star power that had be able to make it, because the reaction from the crowd, that's another massive thing in my mind that puts TNA matches back.
That's a completely unfair comparison, Lee, because for the one thing, TNA doesn't have any talent that's had a longevity like that.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying.
At the same point, they also don't sell 40,000 seat arenas like every week.
What guys did TNA have that haven't been around as long as Cena?
And what they do is they stick to this stupid impact zone that just does nothing for anybody. Just nothing. It really annoys me.
We're getting off topic.
But that has nothing to do with how location does not have anything to do with how good a match is.
Sorry, it does. Joe, you're so wrong. If you could put The Rock versus Cena.
So you would rather watch a Divas match at WrestleMania than you would a TNA World Title match at a house at the Impact Zone.
Go back.
Okay, just want to know. Okay, because location makes all the difference.
WrestleMania 22.
You're retarded.
You're not.
Take the same match and put it in two different venues, and it is a huge difference.
It's a massive
if you were to take that, if you were to take the TNA match,
we're talking. Okay, but
no,
hold on one second.
You made a point. I'm defending. I'm trying to argue it here. You said it doesn't matter the venue. I say you can take your favorite match, whatever your favorite match is, put it in front of 80,000 people at WrestleMania, out with that nice outdoor arena, or you could do it in your living room. And if you watch that same match back on your TV, that is a huge difference.
Okay, but we're actually talking. Okay, I get it has an impact on the vibe of the match,
which affects the match overall.
But I'm talking about only the match itself. Only the match itself. The Rock Cena match was terrible.
Yeah,
no.
Location does not affect the match quality. Whether you're in front of 100,000 people or whether you're in a freaking high school gym, a great match is a great match.
But you're missing.
No, because these guys are standing in the center of a mass of people that are going to be chanting their name, screaming at every high point, pumping their adrenaline further.
But that's not enhancing the match quality.
No, Rob,
no, you're enhancing the vibe. You're not enhancing the match quality.
No, you are. These guys, they're going to be pushing themselves to do more risks, pushing the moves harder, doing them in a fairly different technique. Yeah, they're going to be pushing the presentation more. They're going to be doing more high. They're going to be. It's not much. I'm going to give you that. It's not going to be. You take two jobbers and you put them in front of 100,000 people, and it's going to be amazing. What's going to happen is you're going to see this go from a 10 to an 11. And that only can happen if the crowd's behind it. How many times we talk? How many times we talked about a
shut the fuck up.
or a TNA event, and we said that the pay-per-view was great, except the.
Okay, so. Sorry, I dropped Harrison momentarily. I know it's a dick move. Wait for him to get back, and I'll apologize. I'm sorry, Harrison. That was just funny. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm done. Go on.
No, go ahead.
I'm good. Go on.
No, it's gotten to a point where I don't think anybody's really going to agree with each other. I mean,
yeah.
The only thing I could even say is that Chavo Heath Slater at WrestleMania is better than Rock Cena in your living room. That's Mike's comparison. That's Mike's essential statement. Because no match can be better than unless it's in front of thousands of people.
No, I'm saying take the same match and put it in two different venues and tell me that there's not a difference in it.
How the fuck did we? Anyway,
the point.
It's going to be an argument that we're going to go round and round in circles.
Yeah.
That's all I'm trying to say. And Harrison, I do apologize. That was a dick move of me, so I'm sorry.
Yeah, whatever. All right. So the other thing that we have to talk about besides Rock is the return of some of the other big names that we kicked around. One was Paul Heyman. We had Brock Lesnar make his return. Chris Jericho. Could argue Wade Barrett, the reimagining of him. And when you look at these four names, Paul Heyman, Brock Lesnar, Wade Barrett, and Chris Jericho, which one do you think was the most successful? And keep in mind that you have to grade it on, kind of a curve, because Paul Heyman, one, isn't going to be in the ring. Wade Barrett's kind of a mid-carder compared to these guys. When you think about what they could have been, Who do you think was the most successful out of these four?
I'm going to go with Paul Heyman. Yeah, I'm going to go with him, Paul Heyman, by a mile, because he's added so much to CM Punk's character itself. He's been able to make such more differences, and he's good. He's really, really good. And as far as Brock Lesnar goes, you can't really say he's the biggest win because he's been around for like odd bits here and there. He's not really been around permanently. Heyman's just brought something else, to the next level. He's added CM Punk's longevity to his character. That's the main thing.
Okay, Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Paul Heyman was of the four. Yeah, I think he's done the best so far in WWE. Brock Lesnar's done really well as well. He's brought a lot of, it gave some intrigue when he came back. A lot of people were curious as to, what he would do and how long he'd be around. And, I think they've been really successful with him with the, only 2 matches that he's done so far. They drew pretty well. They did big numbers for them. Wade Barrett's too early to tell. I think that they already dropped his, bare knuckle fighter gimmick. They really don't go with that as much as they did when he first came back. And the return of Chris Jericho, I think, is just one of the bigger fails that WWE has had in 2012.
I don't think you're wrong about that. Look, because it came back to essentially put Punk over, which you did.
Yeah, but
I understand he didn't win, but
yeah, no, that doesn't bother me as much as like the hype of him returning. He always said, when I come back, I want to come back as something different. And
I'll give you that.
He did for the first month, when he wasn't talking, but that obviously bombed, and I think they dropped that, as soon as they saw what it was doing. But to me, like, Chris Jericho just came back and he really didn't do much. I mean, he put Punk over, but I don't think it really set the world on fire as much as people thought it would.
No, true. I think you're right there. I think you're spot on there, to be quite honest. But I did enjoy when he wasn't talking. I did think it was very funny. I did think it was a good move. And even when Punk's and Jericho's actual matches, they were really good. And the feud was quite fun. I think it could have been better. Could have been better.
Yeah. I sometimes think that Chris Jericho was slotted to win the title at some point.
Yeah.
And they just for whatever reason they just decided to not go with him, and he just fell down the ladder. And
I do think though that Triple H Brock Lesnar wasn't as good as Lesnar. Just not even because of the blood or whatever, but just because the intensity was. Brock Lesnar's. It was. I loved that match. Because it was just so take on. Sorry, please.
I thought Triple H Brock was. I didn't think it was a good match either. It had a really good build to it. I really enjoyed the build, but yeah, I don't think that match delivered what should have been, what could have been a, SummerSlam main event.
I really think they could have put something better on there to be fun.
I'm a little worried about the rumor of their rematch at WrestleMania.
I can imagine it will be on though. I mean, what else are they going to put though?
Yeah.
Triple H versus Taker again.
No.
Chet's saying that Paul Heyman is actually getting boring now, and they're really disappointed when they saw him team up with CM Punk. But it's basically the other thing we saw is Paul Heyman came back, pushed Brock Lesnar, and basically switched gears, and I would say was integral in the turn of CM Punk into a heel, and to make sure that he kept the title for an entire year. Do you think that was the best use of Paul Heyman? Not that it was successful, because clearly it was. Do you think that was the best use for Paul Heyman?
I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to say that because it's if he didn't come in, I think a lot of people would be saying CM Punk is pretty much boring right now. I think people would be complaining a lot more than they are doing about him, because Heyman just adds something to Punk. If he came in and with someone different, he would have had an impact, but it wouldn't have been as good as what they've done with what's going on now. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, he adds little nuances to Punk, things that, just little things that he does in the background, little comments that he has, when he's not on the mic, yelling at, whoever Punk is talking to. I think, those little things are great. Maybe not the best use of him, but I still think he does pretty good with what he's given.
Who would you add to him? Who would you put him with? Who would you put him with?
That's a good question.
Right? That's the problem, is you look at this and you think, yeah, it's good, but it's CM Punk, and I don't know. I think CM Punk's going to be good at whatever he needs. He doesn't need Paul Heyman to do anything like that. Yeah, but it still works. Like, that's the thing. And you still look at this and you think, well, okay, Rob, you don't think that these two work together?
No. CM Punk does not need Paul Heyman to help him on the mic.
Oh, right.
Brock Lesnar needs Paul Heyman to help him on the mic because Brock Lesnar couldn't deliver a promo if his life depended on it. CM Punk delivers great promos pretty much on demand. You don't really need Paul Heyman out there to help him.
I just think that if Heyman wasn't there, that the Punk's character itself may just be a little bit too stale by now. Just
really?
Maybe running out of steam.
Yeah, because
I haven't seen too much evidence of that.
No, I know that, but without Heyman, sorry, go on, Harrison.
Well, no, I'm just saying, Lee, I'm backing you up on this because I think, Rob, I don't think anybody's saying that they necessarily needed each other for the mic work. I think CM Punk really needed Paul Heyman, and specifically Paul Heyman's character, to make that heel turn, or else I really don't think it would have worked. It would have been awkward and kludgy for a few weeks as they tried to further push CM Punk as a heel, and I think the crowd would have turned on him, and would have turned on it not so much as a heel, but turned on it like, what the hell are you doing? And it just would have turned off the crowd a lot, and would have cooled them a lot, especially in promos and matches. So I don't think that they really needed each other as far as mic work, but I really do believe that CM Punk needed Paul Heyman, or at least someone like that, to make that turn and to keep it fresh enough for him to hold the belt for a year.
And I think like with Brock Lesnar, he does need Paul Heyman, and I mean, I think more of the reason that he needed him was they needed someone to be on there every week speaking for Brock Lesnar instead of wasting a Brock Lesnar appearance, which I mean, that's something else to talk about. But Brock Lesnar, he's bad, I think, in the traditional sense of cutting promos. If he was to cut more of those UFC style promos that he did with the Cena feud, I like when he does that stuff, but from a traditional sense, that's where he needs Paul Heyman.
Yeah, because they're edited. He's not cutting it live in front of a crowd. That's a whole different skill set. If he's just there kind of, even if he's not reading off a cue card, but if he's just getting talking points or bullet points and they're just going, just hit this, hit this, hit this. Yeah, it works. And it's obviously what he's comfortable with because he did it for a few years. But yeah, they're also edited. So he can do it in more than one take.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so is there, let's go through what some of the fans wrote in here. John wrote in saying Raw 1000. What do you guys feel about that? I mean, it was basically a victory lap for the WWE to say that they made it to 1,000 episodes. We saw a lot of stuff crammed on that. It was the beginning of the 3-hour Raw. How do you guys feel about that as far as Raw 1000 and the 3-hour Raw?
I think the Raw 1000 was just a show to enjoy yourself. I mean, I don't think anyone took it too seriously at the time. I mean, it ended, it did exactly what it was supposed to do. We had a great show. We ended on something big to get someone to tune in next week. I think it was a great show. Just to enjoy yourself. The only disappointment for me about that show was that Stone Cold wasn't on, but that's purely based on some surgery that he had. That was disappointing because, he did. What?
Is that the reason? I thought it was. Oh yeah.
No, he was out for surgery.
Yeah,
which
for some reason I thought it was a scheduling thing. Okay.
Which is it's disappointing, but at the end of the day, because he essentially made a lot of Raw. The overall turn of 3 hours. I mean, if anyone here decides to say it's good, then they will be kicked off the show permanently. But
it's only good if you like a lot of recaps.
It's ridiculous. It's for the extra money. I really don't think it's worth it, and I think it's just starting to ruin. They're almost starting to ruin Raw in a way because it's got such a good status Raw. Well, it had that it was the show to be on, but now it's just it's starting to kill people. Like it's just starting to people are just don't want to watch it. People are just dreading watching it. There was a week in October or November, whenever it was, and I just couldn't. I was thinking, oh God, I have to watch Raw, to tweet or whatever like that. It just absolutely kills you sometimes, especially when the show's just awful as well. It really does.
I can count the number of 3-hour Raws, after Raw 1000, that I've watched on one hand from beginning to end. I think the first episode that I watched beginning to end that was 3 hours was the Jerry Lawler heart attack episode. That was the first one that I didn't just go to bed at 10 o'clock.
Yeah,
so, I mean, it's maybe
like
once
they
a
wrote
month.
It that way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that wasn't because of anything they did right.
I mean, the fact that they were promoting the Jerry Lawler heart attack like earlier that week leading to the Raw was really weird. No.
On an extra special Raw.
Jerry Lawler's having a heart attack. What? I'm what?
And yet it
WrestleZone
ended with John Cena jumping in the air and them rolling credits.
I love that.
Yeah, I've seen
so
that.
Much. I can tell you right now, since I went to 3 hours, I have not watched a single live Raw. Every single one has been time shifted in some capacity. I cannot do it. I cannot devote 3 hours of my Monday to Vince McMahon and his puppet of tricks. I can't do it. I can only time shift it or show up an hour late so I can fast forward the commercials. I don't know how people do it. I mean, do you just
it worked for about 3 weeks, and I reached my breaking point. What really pissed me off is when I'm sitting on the couch with the wife, we watched a pay-per-view, and the next night we're watching Raw, and we're like,
the pay-per-view.
It's the exact same length.
Yeah.
There's no added value for a pay-per-view anymore.
No, apart from, no, there isn't really.
Because you're gonna get the matches a week later. You're gonna get them
right,
2 weeks
especially
later.
since the WWE tends to repeat the matches. So it's like, hey, why pay $50 or $60 for the pay-per-view? Just wait until the next Raw.
Well, because then you guys don't know what it's like.
There's only one thing you get out of those pay-per-views that you don't get on Raw and SmackDown, and that's the guys going into either a rest hold or throwing the guy out of the ring and then going to commercial.
Yeah,
that is about it.
That's true.
Yeah, that's the only benefit from pay-per-view. No commercial breaks.
Yep.
When I'm sitting there and I'm reviewing SmackDown, as soon as they put that chin lock in, I can finish my sentence, typing out my sentence without even looking at the TV. I know what's happening. It's Randy Orton puts Alberto Del Rio in a chin lock. Josh Matthews throws to a commercial, parentheses commercial, and then I look up and he's still sitting in the chin lock. 30 seconds later, we'll be right back on SmackDown.
So, do you see, going forward into 2013, what do you think the future is of the 3-hour Raw? I mean, do you think there is a remote possibility that WWE would take that ego, swallow that bitter-ass pill, and go back to 2 hours?
No way. The reason? Commercial buys. It's like Nitro.
I have a feeling.
From what I'm hearing, all the executives love the money that they're getting, and even if those ratings drop down to 2.25 or 2.3, they're still making money on it.
They could probably make enough money to buy THQ and then put out their own video games.
I think what'll be really telling about staying at 3 hours will be the ratings between Elimination Chamber and WrestleMania. If they are not breaking 3.0 and they have no reason, they don't have football to blame, they don't have, whatever reason they put on there. If they are not doing good ratings, I think that might send them back to 2 hours.
I think the bigger issue would probably be between May and normally June or July, where they normally have their really crap period.
Mm-hmm.
When after Extreme Rules, we get that pretty decent pay-per-view, and then from there, it's never really any good. It's always pretty shit.
No, I think Mike hit it, because that's kind of like sweeps week for WWE, because that's the lead up to WrestleMania. That's all the big builds. That's when you're going to see guys like The Rock and any other, whoever they're going to build for the show is going to be. We're probably going to see Brock Lesnar, on Raw, like not live via satellite.
But the difference is between last year and this year, The Rock and Brock Lesnar, like they all came back like last year. This year they're just coming back again.
Well, no,
will it really add any attraction this year?
Well, it is an attraction because my point is these guys are going to be in the ring live. They're not going to be via satellite. They're not going to be anything like that. So this is where WWE kind of puts all their whatever bag of tricks they have. That's when they start whipping them out in front of the crowd, leading up to WrestleMania.
You're right.
WrestleMania seasons when a lot of those lost casual fans will come back and see what's going on.
Oh yeah,
you're right. You're right. But this year, they don't. Sorry, Rob. Very quickly, this year they don't have the attraction of The Rock is going to return, or Brock Lesnar is going to fully return.
We don't know.
They've already done that.
Well, we don't know what they have. It could be the return of Steve Austin. I mean, we got time until we get to that point. So anyway, Joe, what do you got?
One question for you guys, and I think this would probably be an interesting question. If Raw, for some reason, if they're like, all right, the ratings suck, and the money's just not worth the lower ratings, let's go back to 2 hours. Do they go 9 to 11, or do they go 8 to 10?
8 to 10.
Yeah, I think.
Sorry. I'm just gonna say 8 to 10. If they want this to go the PG route, they should do 8 to 10 because no one is staying up between 10 and 11. It's pretty obvious that everyone's tuning out at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, that was something I was going to bring up earlier. Is how weird it is, how the ratings for Raw are. If you go back a year or two ago when they would do those 3-hour Raws, it was always that 8 to 9 o'clock hour that nobody tuned in and nothing happened, and WWE knew that that only the hardcores would tune in for that hour. Now it's that 10 to 11 hour that people are tuning out, and they're DVRing and watching the next day. I could see them cutting that hour out.
The reason is, let's face it, is because they show half the shit in the first half hour of that third hour. The first half hour of that third hour is generally where all the pretty filler crap goes. What they do.
Yeah, and that third hour you get like Epico and Primo versus Joe Blow and his brother Joe Nobody.
Yeah,
and they put on a 25-minute match.
Yeah,
it's a Robbie and Robbie T.
but I don't like how they just extend the actual match. But I don't like how they do it because it's so obvious. The problem is, it is really just getting to the whole. Oh, let's just we'll throw them out the ring, and then it's just back to the whole when Raw rolls on etc. It's so predictable when that happens though now. It really is.
Well, I think the most telling thing about the 3-hour Raw is that when they were announcing to go in it, we were even discussing it. It's like, well, it's not like they're cramming a lot in these shows. I mean, what else? Like, that's one thing we were talking about. What are they going to add to it? Because they're still fitting between SmackDown and Raw, and then the addition of Wednesday Night Main Event, Saturday Morning Slam, all these other shows that they added on top of that. It's like all of that and a 3-hour Raw. I mean, we're talking. I mean, how many hours does that come out to? It comes out to, I think it was like 12 hours, right? It comes out to like 12 hours if you have a pay-per-view of WWE programming.
12 hours.
Yeah, in that entire week. I mean, that's a lot that you gotta fill. And it just, I just can't imagine that they're thinning the roster out so much. It's like, I can't help but look at that and think they took on too much too fast.
Well, a good issue to raise at that is like last weekend, who was it? Ted DiBiase got injured, and they had to pull out Jamie Noble to play Fandango.
Yeah.
Because they had to, because he went last minute, and they've got no one else to replace him. That's how thin they are. They're really, but yeah, we say they're really thin, but they've got a lot of people lined up who don't get on shows. We say people like Tyson Kidd. People, I can't think of anyone else off my head at the minute, but we talk about people who Evan Bourne's due to come back from injury and stuff like that. How is he going to be used when he gets back? You tend to think that he's just going to be one of those guys who lasts a couple of months where he's on a bit of heat, like Tyson Kidd had when Money in the Bank, and then he's just going to go back to to wherever he goes again.
Well, you got to think you just bring those guys up in whatever it costs. Well, that's the other side of it. When it comes to filling up this programming, it's basically pretty easy for the cost of an evening for those guys and a plane ticket, and you got them, and a hotel. So you're thinking, however much that costs, you now have 25 minutes of content that you can put in there. I mean, there is that. Well, okay, regardless. Now we're getting into the nitty-gritty. Regardless for 2012. Okay, so the other thing I want to talk about is the two. Well, when we're talking outside of guys that we've known from before, like Paul Heyman, Brock Lesnar, Wade Barrett, Rock, what about these four names? Ryback, Antonio Cesaro, The Shield, and Damian Sandow. Once again, you're going to have to grade it on a curve because The Shield only debuted recently. Out of these four guys, which do you think has been the most impressive? Or these four names? Because we got three guys with Shield, but
I think that's a very hard question. I think they're all four of them are actually in a very, very different position. Ryback's clearly, well, he's kind of, I almost think Ryback's almost had his moment in a weird way. In the first pay-per-view main event he had, if he didn't win, then it could really not kill him, but it hasn't killed him at all. That's really wrong for me to say. But he's lost a bit of shine.
He's on a 3 pay-per-view losing streak.
He's lost a bit of shine, to be fair. The Shield they won a great first match, and they're still looking quite good. They don't look to be running out of steam anytime soon. Anthony Cesaro, I don't think his gimmick's working. I think he's a really good wrestler, but I don't think the character itself is really clicking. And Damien Sandow has been impressive, but he should be, he looks impressive, he talks impressive. He could go a little bit further than what he is right now. I think he could be a little bit higher. And it's all about breaking someone out. I mean, they've tried to break Ryback out, and obviously, to a point, it's worked, but he's not done anything major at this point yet. I mean, it's very early, don't get me wrong, but still.
Yeah. Okay. Mike, what do you think?
Anyway.
Yeah, I think Ryback's lost a lot of his shine, going on that. As soon as he lost that Hell in a Cell, I think he should have gone over Punk there, to be honest. And when that didn't happen, to me, it's just like he's been going downhill. He's not wrestling every week on Raw and SmackDown like he was. I think they'll probably put him on the back burner. Maybe, after the Royal Rumble, I'd say. They'll use him. He'll have his big spot in the Rumble, and that'll probably be it for WrestleMania season. Antonio Cesaro, yeah, he's a good wrestler. There's just something about him I think that just isn't clicking. Yeah, he needs to find his character and this whole, every time that he changes characters, I'm a little glad that first he dumped Oksana, then he got rid of that 5 languages thing, and now he's doing the I hate America but I'm your champion, and like that's okay, but to me it seems a little mid-cardish and something that he's going to have to shed eventually. Damien Sandow, I've been liking what he's doing. He goes hot and cold sometimes, but his cold periods they're not as long as his hot periods. He'll be front and center for a few weeks, and then he'll disappear for a week. Stuff like that. I think he's got a lot of potential. I think he'll have a good 2013. I love the stuff he's doing with Cody Rhodes. I think they've got a good dynamic there. As for the Shield, I love what they're doing with them so far. I love that backstage shaky cam promo that they're doing. I think that is just really kind of like edgy stuff that they're doing right now. It's no one else is doing that. I think just what they're doing is great, and I want to see them keep the momentum. Keep winning matches and not be lost in the shuffle.
I gotta say, I think it's all about that momentum in it. If they get that momentum and they carry that through to WrestleMania and they continue with that, they could be massive, couldn't they? Essentially.
One of the rumored matches for WrestleMania is Undertaker and Ryback versus the Shield.
Could be an interesting one.
Yeah,
that'd be pretty impressive. Joe, what do you think? These 4 names.
Ryback's. I mean, it's tough. I'm gonna drop the Shield from any type of discussion on my end anyway, because I don't think they've been around long enough to make the 2012 Impact. To me, the Impact was it was interesting, but I don't think it was as big as the arrivals of, say, Ryback, Cesaro, and Sandow. I mean,
there's not enough.
It was explosive in the short, but we haven't seen enough. Yeah. I think Antonio Cesaro, fantastic worker, epic worker. Granted, the character needs a little work. I'm not sure how to tweak it. I think his gimmick works fine. I mean, it's worked for so many heels in the past, so you can't say it doesn't work. It just isn't connecting fully with the fans. Sandow's been great. I just think it depends on the day and who he's got across from him. If he's got somebody good to work with across from him, he can really shine. It's not just somebody carrying him per se, but he can do some great work. But if the person he's working with is sloppy or just ill-timed, he suffers. So he does need maybe a better worker to get that done. But Ryback, I mean, just a machine. I'm still in awe of the fact that, in a short period, we're like, really, Ryberg? To feed me more. Mm-hmm. Just how quickly he rose and how quickly the fans took to him. And his good work ethic. I mean, wrestling with pink eye, good props to you.
Was it JTG that said, I don't want to get pink eye? Like, he was in a match with him? Yeah,
Yep.
that was awesome.
And that's the last time we saw him.
No, it wasn't. JTG was in the ring again one more time. But that was one of those things. And the reason I bring it up is because of that website you sent me that was how long, that it's been this long since JTG's been employed by the WWE, and it's just a running counter.
Yep.
Now, Joe, you said that, like, you know, the Shield hasn't been around long enough for you to rate them with the other three guys. Would you say that they're on the right track, though?
I think they're on the right track. I want to see them in more matches. Mm-hmm. I think it's for me. You got to put them in more matches. You can have somebody be a mouthpiece, and you were right, Mike. The vignettes that they've been doing with the camera are awesome. It's really great. You even see Ambrose doing a little bit of Ledger's Joker.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought.
Yeah, and it works. Even with the hair thing, the hair is continuously moving. He's got that weird look to him. I like it. I hope Crimson doesn't get pissed off that maybe WWE's still in his gimmick now. I tease because, you know, he's a guy I've watched for a number of years, actually. Didn't even realize it. But, you know, it's just, I'd want to see more in-ring work from those guys to really give them a good evaluation.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, as far as I'm looking at it, you know, Joe, I'm kind of with you on the Shield. They're new, they're on the right track, and they should be going forward. As far as Ryback, Cesaro, and Sandow, these are three talents that I think are worth investing in. I know Ryback had his rough spots, but he's on kind of a rise. Although, 3 pay-per-view streak, which I didn't even realize till just now. Cesaro is his gimmick isn't working, but he's so talented in the ring, and he's, especially for a guy who's essentially new to the WWE, it's like he's on such a high level when it comes to his ring work, you know, with some of these guys. And Damian Sandow, the guy's just on fire. I mean, this guy is only going to go up as far as how good he is as a heel. And it's that classic, like, Mr. Perfect kind of, you know, $1 million man type of swarmy heel that the crowd just loves to hate. And he's just hitting that so well.
Isn't it amazing that, you know, back after around WrestleMania time, we were talking about Brodus Clay and how he would fare by the end of the year, and he's not even in any discussion. Oh my gosh, it's just weird to think back at guys that they were pushing that they just completely gave up on.
I think we all kind of predicted, though, that Brodus Clay was a limited time gimmick, you know, because the effect would wear off. And
he's a gadget, is what he is. I mean, he's just a thing that they could bring out. He's the theme song, is all he is. And then the match is just a justification for it.
He's a house show, man. He's a house show guy.
Yeah, there you go. He's perfect for a house show.
And to be honest, I thought Ryback would be in the same category as Brodus Clay. I thought he would, you know, they would put him in a real match and see that he couldn't work, and that would be that. And he would be, you know, in the same spot as Brodus Clay. But I was wrong. You know, he had a good year.
All right. Speaking of year, let's jump into the best of 2012. We got a few categories here. We're just going to run through them, and I'm going to kick it to you guys. This is going to be Ask FTW style, so keep your answer short. Your wrestler of the year. This could be TNA or WWE, but I just want to go through it real quick. Wrestler of the year. Joe, your wrestler of the year for 2012.
My wrestler of the year is going to be Bully Ray. The guy's made some great advances this year, in ring, character-wise. On the mic, he's always been stellar, but I'm really impressed with Bully Ray, especially at the later age of a wrestler that he is. You know, he's been a veteran for so long. I'm proud.
Rob, what is your wrestler of the year?
Actually, I'm gonna go with Austin Aries. Bully Ray is right up in there with an honorable mention. I had trouble debating coming to a decision between these two, but the phenomenal rise that Austin Aries had just coming out of nowhere to get the X Division Championship, trading that in and becoming the World Championship, I thought was really something special.
Okay. Mike, your wrestler of the year.
I'm going to have to go with Daniel Bryan. I think everything that he's done this year has just been great. I mean, from the beginning of his yes gimmick to start out 2012 to his relationship with AJ, and, you know, that morphed into Team Hell No. I think, you know, just everything he's done has been really great this year. And I mean, I want to give honorable mention to CM Punk. I mean, he's been, you know, being champion for the entire year is nothing to sneeze at either. But to me, Daniel Bryan gets a nod for wrestler of the year.
Okay. Lee, your wrestler of the year.
Really fucked off you went to Mike first because he's just said exactly what I was going to say. Literally, word for word what I was going to say. It's Daniel Bryan all the way. Mike said it all there. He's done everything. There's not been a moment this year where he's been sloppy, where his work rate has been sucked. There was nothing he's done wrong this year. Everything from, the AJ thing that you were saying to the Kane gimmick, some of their things were hilarious. The yes, it was so over when I was in London and then again in thingy Birmingham. It was absolutely over when I was there, and he's done absolutely nothing wrong, honestly. Nothing wrong at all. It's easily Daniel Bryan for me. Easily.
Okay, mine is, I'm going with Austin Aries, and I would have said Dolph Ziggler if I know they're going to do it before WrestleMania. They're going to pull the trigger on him, and he's going to be main event talent. They just didn't do it in 2012. If they did this, and it's just a time thing, if they did it, if he cashed in and got the belt and he's main event, SmackDown in last year, in 2012, totally him all the way. But because they didn't, I got to give it to Austin Aries. The guy had a meteoric rise. He is exactly the type of talent that TNA needs, which is the homegrown guys from their own roster coming up through the ranks, proving themselves in the company and staking a claim on their own merits. And that's exactly what they need to do. He is the roadmap for TNA success. And so for that reason, I got to give him Wrestler of the Year. Chat is saying that Aries and Bryan, Bobby Roode was a good one. Bully Ray, all wrestlers of the year. So that is who we picked for 2012. It'll be interesting to see who we pick for 2013. Now on to most improved. Whoever you think is the most improved from the beginning of 2012 until the end. You know what? I'm going to mix it up here a little bit. Lee, you go first.
No. Why could you not go to me with the question I know?
Are you kidding me?
Why could you not go to me?
After complaining, Mike went before
Oh
you.
my God.
If you went to me first, I was going to throw to Lee first.
Come on, Lee. Most improved of the year.
It's actually a very difficult question because Bully Ray for me is right up there. Just simply because obviously at the start of the year he wasn't started as a singles wrestler, he wasn't fully established. By the end of the year, that's all pretty much we're talking about in TNA. Obviously Jeff Hardy as well, but in WWE wise, Dolph Ziggler's he's come a long way since January. He's improved certain things. He's really stood out at times. He's made himself look really, really good. He's been on the end of some really, really harsh shit decisions and some shit gimmicks, but that's not his fault.
Okay.
It would have to either go to him or Ray in terms of that. I don't really think there's been honestly Aries is in there as well because he's really improved in the start of the year as well. It's a difficult question, but I don't think anyone. It would have to either go for one of them three because I can't think of anyone else who's really, really improved massively as such as them.
Okay, Mike, your most improved of the year.
I'm going to go with Dolph Ziggler. He improved. One of the things that was really lacking with him, I think it was one of the cylinders, in that engine, in that 6-cylinder engine that was really holding him back, was his microphone skills. I mean, he could not cut a promo a year ago. That's why he had, Vicky Guerrero with him. And to me, like, just improving on that 100-fold. Now he's giving the best promos, in WWE. And I mean, obviously the best work of his career has been this year. I got to give most improved to Dolph.
Okay. Rob, your most improved of the year.
I'm going to go with Bully Ray. I pretty much agree with Lee. When Team 3D split up, we were talking about Devon as the best singles wrestler. Devon got off to this great start. Ray was kind of struggling and, wasn't doing much. And then, TNA just gave him a chance and he just stepped up to the plate and hit a grand slam. And he's moved himself to be one of the key players in TNA at the moment. So, I mean, I've got to say Bully Ray has to be the most improved wrestler of the year.
Okay. Joe, your choice for most improved wrestler of the year.
For me, the most improved wrestler category expands a little bit.
Don't pick one, but pick.
AJ Lee?
Yeah. Well, maybe.
Yep. No, that's my pick.
All right.
She went from nothing, from a small character. She just had a meteoric rise from Daniel Bryan's, lackey girlfriend to the manipulator harlot that she is now. And she's entertaining to watch. And granted, she hasn't had a whole lot of wrestling matches this year. On the whole, she's been a wrestler to watch. So that's it. AJ Lee, most improved.
Okay. Joe, I agree with you and I disagree with you. See, the thing is, for me, she's at 9. It's just that one little bit that she did. I don't know what it is, but I don't think we've seen it yet. It's that thing that's going to make her, holy crap, yeah, hands down, most improved. So for that reason,
the only thing she's got to do is pull a page out of Mickie James's book when she fought Trish Stratus, did the crotch grab and then licked her finger. You got to do something crazy on that level.
The only
and she'll hit that.
No, because I don't want to get those tweets. I don't want to get those tweets about my cousin if she does something like that. Anyway, no, I
regardless. Don't worry about it.
I can't give her most improved just because I really think she's got more to go. And the other reason is I want to give most improved to Daniel Bryan. I don't think he was Wrestler of the Year because I mean for whatever reason, but I gotta give it to him, man, for most improved considering where he was in 2012, and he was on fire in 2012. To where he is now, which I honestly believe is top 5 for the most entertaining professional wrestlers in the world today. It's Daniel Bryan, dude. The guy is, everything he does is gold. And it's just, I cannot, and the only thing I worry is that he has that kind of like, I don't know how to describe it. Almost like that kind of like Chris Jericho-ness about him, where he's just not the bankable, pay-per-view main event, where he's going to be that kind of like funny, gimmicky guy that you can bring out that's going to do amazing work, but he's not going to be The Rock or Cena or anything like that. He's not going to be that huge name that you can hang a decade on. And that's the only thing I think he lacks.
Here's another one that I'm going to throw out there, just very quickly.
Keep in mind, we gotta get rolling.
Okay, now, very quickly. What about John Cena?
For most improved?
Because
no.
Because this year he seems to have he's used quite a few different moves. He seems to have improved a lot on his overall, he's carried a lot of people this year, as we were saying earlier, and he's just generally been, don't get me wrong, he's still been as corny and shit as ever, but overall he seems to have just almost been, a little bit better than he was last year. I don't know how he seems to be a lot.
No, I really think that's
better, but I would say most improved.
Yeah, that's kind of him, though. I mean, that's always been there. It's not like he turned a leaf and started doing that. He's always done that. He's always been the company worker that could really, push somebody to the next level. I mean, that's just who he is. I mean, he's that type of talent, I don't think that's improved. I think that's just, okay, Lee, I will give you this. This year we saw more of it and we saw a clearer view of it, but that's been there for, I'd say, at least 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, he just looks like he's actually just, he's worked hard this year. He's trying to improve himself a little bit more than.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's fair. That's a fair point. Chet's saying Bully Ray, Jeff Hardy, and Dolph Ziggler, Daniel Bryan, Dolph and Ryback. They were also considering AJ for the exact reason that you brought up, Joe. They're saying that also they agree with me on Daniel Bryan improving. And I'm sorry, buddy. You're gonna have to just suck it up and deal with it. And Chet's also saying the suicide dive from John Cena was amazing. They have to be honest about that. Yes, it was. Career tailspin. Who has had the biggest tailspin in their career? The biggest heights to the lowest lows. And I got mine, and I hope you guys don't pick it. Rob, biggest tailspin. Go.
If we're talking TNA, I've got to go with Devon. They've just completely destroyed his character. In the WWE, I have to go with John Cena. I mean, he went from one of the top guys in the WWE to just, I mean, John Cena is the AJ Styles of the WWE. I mean, he's had a shitty year.
That's an interesting comparison. I would say AJ Styles is the John Cena of TNA, but okay.
But very quickly, Rob, if you said we're on about career tailspins, he's still the biggest guy in WWE.
There is that, Rob.
He's
and Rob. I mean, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Rob? Can you quickly defend your point in about 15 seconds?
No, not in 15 seconds.
All right. Well, we'll give you. You do have a point.
We'll just cut you off in 15 seconds. Go.
Hey, at least I'm honest. At least I know it'll take me longer than 15
You're done. All right, moving on. Joe, what is your career tailspin of the year?
I've got two. The first being Zack Ryder. Zack Ryder was right. I mean, he had the fan base, and he had a U.S. title push at the beginning of the year. And what has he done since? He just dropped to. I mean, he doesn't even get entrance music anymore most of the time. The other one being Natalya. She went from doing okay to the farting gimmick to nothing.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no.
But Rob, I gotta agree with you on
now.
Don't. Please don't.
She'd be better if she was Hornswoggle's girlfriend. Anyway, but Rob, I would have to agree with you on Diva. I mean, what the hell? I mean, taking the TV title away from him to put him in Aces and Eights eventually. I understand there was a contract negotiation thing going on that they did it for, but damn, you couldn't have had him win the title back or come up with some storyline. I don't know. To me, that was really low.
And they're not doing anything special with him in Aces and Eights. That's the thing. I mean, it's just like, he's here in this motorcycle gang.
Yep.
Lee, your choice for career tailspin of 2012.
Yeah, TNA. I'm going to follow on Devon's there, and I would have to say Kurt Angle as well, because Kurt Angle's just done nothing for me this year as well. He's But then you go back to the argument, he's still big, so that's fair play. In WWE, it's Zack Ryder's a great call. Zack Ryder has been horrible this year. They've just ruined him, absolutely ruined him. But my main one has got to be Alberto Del Rio. It's got to be, because at the start of the year he was just being talked about all this year as a champion and all this and that, and his gimmick has just become the worst thing to watch I've seen in a long time. It's so boring. They've got no clue what they're doing with him. 1 week he's face, 1 week he's heel, 1 week he's face, 1 week he's good, next week's bad.
Great call, Lee.
It's just they don't know what they're doing with him. It's such a bad gimmick. They need to change something, because it's painfully boring watching him. His matches are okay, but it's just painfully boring.
Yeah, that's a great call. I mean, thinking back to it, Royal Rumble of 2012. I mean, it was almost like a guaranteed thing that the guy was going to be world champion, and
it's his destiny.
He's just crashed.
Yeah, crashed and burned. Mike, your choice for career tailspin of 2012.
Zack Ryder is a good pick, but my pick has been worse than Ryder. Jack Swagger was the U.S. champion to start the year, and now he's been taken off of TV because he's just been defined down so much this year. He is one of those guys that. What's that?
The only reason I was going to disagree with you is because he was kind of on a downfall when he started the year. Kind of.
Yeah, and I mean, like, he had potential with their teaming him up with Ziggler and all that at the time, but I mean, he finally broke away and they did nothing with him, and then he just loses every week to the point where they had to take him off TV to save his career, and hopefully they renew that push that they gave him in 2009, 2010 when he comes back. But man, that has been that was a Drew McIntyre like career tailspin.
That's the category. That's your new benchmark. Is the Drew McIntyre like tailspin. For me, hands down, Tensai all the way. This guy, I will never forget his main event match with John Cena, and they booked it like John Cena was scared of Tensai and what he could do. And where did we see him on the Slammies? We saw Tensai with that stupid ass ice pack on his head playing a humor. It was all, I thought this guy was going to be it. This guy was going to be the unstoppable monster that Ryback became. And look at him now.
I have to say, Tensai, he never from the beginning, never clicked. He never did click.
He didn't, and that's why he did not get tailspin for me.
Yeah, because he
never got that. He nenever got to that high to then fall.
No, because if you're
he never really got anywhere to fall. I mean, if you count 3 weeks does not qualify.
do you know what the thing is, Harrison? Though, even worse than that is that when they were coming out and when it was like, if you remember back to Raws in like June and July, they were like Cena had a mystery opponent, and every time it was guaranteed to be Tensai, and everyone was like, oh shit.
Yeah, that's a fair point. But I'm just thinking as far as where Tensai was supposed to go and where he ended up. So that is that one caveat.
That's true.
All right, so chat saying Zack Ryder. ADR, AJ Styles all have big tailspins this year. All right, now here we are. This is going to be the last one that we do. Match of the year. What is your match of the year for 2012? Joe, your match of the year.
My match of the year is going to be, it was a recent match too. Kofi Kingston versus Antonio Cesaro versus Wade Barrett versus R-Truth in a fatal 4-way. For the U.S. title. That match was amazing.
That was a good match.
And the best thing about it was that it was mid-card guys, and you showcased really what all four of these guys can do. I mean, I was actually impressed with R-Truth in that match, and I hate R-Truth, so that's saying something. You know, Cesaro shined like a bad motherfucker. You had Wade Barrett just knocking it out of the park. You had Kofi Kingston gluing it all together. It was just a great match.
Okay. Mike, your match of the year.
I'm going to go with Taker Triple H for match of the year. That had such great drama to it. I think it had a great build, from, the Shawn Michaels matches, the Triple H's match with them to the end of an era. To me, it was one of the best matches of the year. It was the match of the year. Not one of the best. It was the best match of the year, in my opinion.
Okay. Rob, your match of the year.
I think this has been mentioned in the chat already too, but I'm going to go ahead and agree with it. I think James Storm versus Bobby Roode in a street fight at Bound for Glory. That was an awesome freaking match. I mean, just was great to see those two go at it. TNA finally picking up on the feud between those two. It was just, God, that was a great match to watch.
Okay, Lee, your match of the year. Go, Lee.
I do think Taker Triple H was probably the match of the year. It was just, he's already said it, it had such intensity. It was so good. It really was the end of an era. If I'm going to go a bit different, that was my main one. But in TNA, I'm going to go with Rob. James Storm, Bobby Roode, such a good match, such a good finish. It really should have been the main event of that because it was brilliant. If I want another WWE match, I have to say the matches we got between Punk and Bryan were just so good. They were so good. It was so good watching them every time. I was really fucked off when John Cena headlined, and when I really was fucked off when he headlined when Punk and Bryan had that kind of match. So yeah, but mainly it has to be Triple H versus Undertaker. There's nothing that's been better this year. It really hasn't.
Okay, cool. I got everybody, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. My match of the year, I'm going to have to agree with most of what's been said and say Taker and Triple H. And because the match, build, everything else otherwise, the match itself, it was such just a triumph of storytelling inside a professional wrestling match. And if I had to use one thing to show my parents why I do this every Tuesday night, it would be that match. And I would go, just watch how these three guys tell a story inside this, venue. And it was amazing to see. And you don't really see that very often. It's always about hitting your spots and getting the crowd involved and everything like that. But it was this little bubble of perfection to me as far as what you can do in professional wrestling. And that match for me was absolutely match of the year. And it's going to be hard pressed for, we got 8 more years, but maybe match of the decade. I don't know. Chat's saying John Cena versus CM Punk. James Storm versus Bobby Roode in the street fight for Bound for Glory 2012. I'll give that one a surprise because I really did not want to see that match. I thought they blew their load before it, but it delivered. I'll give them that. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do our 2013 predictions. Give me one prediction for the year of 2013. Keep it short, guys, because we're running long. Let's just roll through it here and see what you guys think as far as what you want to see or what you think is going to happen in 2013. Rob, go.
Bully Ray will be world champion at some point during the year.
I don't even think that's a good one. I'd bank that. Yeah. I wouldn't bet against you on that one. Okay, cool. Joe, your 2013 prediction.
That the Usos will hold tag team gold.
Wow. Okay. All right. Lee, your 2013 prediction.
How many can we have?
Ideally one.
Ideally one.
Okay, I'm going to do one for each promotion. Okay, I'm going to go for TNA, that they actually build on the 1.1 rating for the first time ever. Average, that is, for our average. Hopefully. Second thing this year, I think it's a guarantee that Dolph Ziggler's going to be champion. It's a guarantee. So I'm not going to predict that. I'm going to say that at some point this year, probably WrestleMania, John Cena is going to be back as the WWE champion for about 4 to 5 months.
Okay. Mike, your prediction for 2013.
I'm going to predict that people will not be disappointed. Sin Cara is going to botch more moves in 2013.
I think you're completely wrong, because I think he's improved.
He has improved. It's not, but not to say that he won't botch moves in 2013. Everyone's going to botch moves in 2013, but he's not. But he's been doing well. I'll give you that.
What a cop out! Like, come on. No, give me a real one. Come on. 2013.
I wasn't expecting this question. I didn't really think of anything.
Come on, gut check. Come on, shoot from your hip, and don't give me the Sin Bacha. I love the name from the chat. Live chat.
I think
who's going to be fired? Who's going to be fired? There you go. That's an easy one.
Oh, gosh, I'd have to look at a list of the wrestlers.
Don't worry about it. What do you got, Mike?
Yeah, I think Ziggler's going to cash in at WrestleMania. That's one of my small predictions for 2013. I think, after that world title match, he'll come running down with his briefcase and walk out of WrestleMania, the biggest show of the year with the world title, and that'll kick off the next few months of storylines for WWE.
All right, my prediction for 2013 is that we will not see another Taker streak match. We're done. 2012 was it. I really believe that we are done with that. And 2013 WrestleMania, we will not see Taker go 20-1.
You're calling Triple H a liar.
So even Triple H has said it. You're going to say that.
I'm saying it. I do not think it's going to happen. That's where I'm landing on it.
Did you not also remember that they also said that that big match from last year that we were talking about for about half an hour, that it was only going to be once in a lifetime?
Hey, Lee, look. I'm just saying it. My gut is telling me, and I just want to say it. And look, we can record. We got this. We got the recording. You can easily throw it in my face in April. Feel free to do it. But I gotta say, I think that's it. Chat is saying Cena's gonna turn heel. Oh, come on. No. Stop predict. Guys, just look. Santa isn't real, and Cena's never gonna turn heel. Let's just get that out of the way.
Whoa,
Spoiler
excuse me.
alert.
Come on, man.
You mean Santa isn't real? That's fucking harsh.
Dolph Ziggler will be the World Heavyweight Champion. Yeah, that one's a gimme. Here's a good one. Kofi versus Ziggler for a big belt. I could see that. I think Kofi's been on a tear. I don't know if they're really comfortable, putting a lot on him just yet. But I could see maybe towards the tail end. Well, no, I
6 years.
Yeah, but look, he's been in the mid-card for so long. I really don't see him going for a World Heavyweight belt. Maybe towards the end of 2013 they might pull the trigger on that, but I don't think we're going to see it before June. All right. They're also saying Shelton Benjamin will make his return to the WWE. Well, is he going there or is he going TNA? No, I guess.
I really do.
No, he's supposedly going WWE.
Okay, all right. So yeah, he'll probably show up in WWE. Saying, here's one. Undertaker is going to be in the Hall of Fame for 2013. No, I don't think so.
I'd also like to see MVP back in WWE this year.
Yeah, so would I. Good call.
Yeah, that would be nice. I think he I don't. Yeah, it was kind of a mistake that he left. All right, I do want to thank Eric and Ryan for writing in. We really wish we could get to your questions and everything, but we just really don't have enough time, man. So thank you guys for writing in, and we really appreciate it. All right, win-fail of 2012.
Women wrestlers aren't getting paid? Why do you do a job?
Here is your win.
You do any job,
and fail
is to fucking get paid!
of the week.
What is your number one win of 2012? You know what? Oh God, who should I go to first? Because I know you guys you're gonna gripe. Who do I want to hear? You know what, Lee? You're the best complainer. Lee, you go first.
The best overall moment in 2012.
Yep, the biggest win of 2012.
It's got to be pretty easily Jerry the King Lawler coming back from that heart attack. I mean, didn't like his commentary, but Jesus Christ, that was ridiculous. That what happened on Raw. For him to come back is mind blowing. So, it's not wrestling related, but it's got to be that. It's got to be.
Okay, Mike, your win of 2012.
I am going to have to go with WrestleMania being the win of 2012 with just their monster buy rate that they did. I think it was one of the best shows. I think it was the best show of the year, and I think one of the best WrestleManias maybe in the last 5 years or so. I think that'd be my win of 2012.
Okay, Rob, your win of 2012.
I agree with Lee. I think Jerry the King Lawler's recovery from his heart attack was a big thing. I mean, especially when you take a look at what all happened. I mean, Michael Cole is unable to finish commentary for the rest of the night. I mean, it was once it became apparent that this was something real and wasn't something that was planned. For Jerry the King Lawler to come back as quickly as he did was really amazing.
Okay. Who am I missing here? Joe, your win of... Yeah, sorry. Joe, your win of 2012.
Here's the problem. I've got 3.
Okay, it's fine. It's a big year.
Yeah, and now I already forgot one of them, so this might be short. Number 1, I've got to say the meteoric rise, or the lengthy title run of CM Punk. I know it started last year, but for CM Punk to hold the title, overthrowing Cena, just everybody, he's just been so huge. It's a huge win. The one I've forgotten now just brought back, Team Hell No, fantastic, entertaining. All Elite Crow, I thought they were going to be broken up in 2 to 3 months, and they are helping revolutionize the tag team division. It's what I was hoping for, but didn't think the WWE would do, so it's epically awesome. I'm, big win. And for a more recent thing, Mrs. Gangbang reference to AJ on SmackDown. Oh my gosh, that was hilarious.
Yeah, they're really starting to skirt that PGA line. My win of the year is Michael Cole, hands down. The guy, from the lows of the Jerry Lawler feud and getting the tomato sauce or the barbecue sauce dumped on him. I mean, the lows to when Jerry Lawler had his heart episode and had to carry on the show by himself afterwards. I cannot look at this year and find one thing that would be bigger to the wrestling world than what Michael Cole did in 2012, and it was his year. And it wasn't his year because of writers. It wasn't his year because of gimmicks or because of the crowd. It was his year because he did what he needed to do and better than I think anybody could have possibly done in that situation. And so I got to give it to him. Win of 2012 is Michael Cole.
I have to say very quickly that JBL has a mention in there somewhere because since he's been on commentary, it's just so funny to listen to.
Oh, yeah.
It's just so good.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Honorable mention, JBL. Yeah, he's been fantastic. All right, fails of 2012. Your fail of the year. Go, Rob.
3-hour Raw.
You don't need to say anything else.
All right, there it is. All right,
yeah,
He's not wrong.
Mike hit it right on that. I really don't need to add to it, man.
I like it, Rob. Joe, your fail of the year.
I have 2, because I can't do anything easy. 1, the fact that we didn't mention Sin Cara Negro / Camacho's fall from grace as the tailspin of the year, because damn, way to take something that was big at the time and just tank your entire career. But the big thing is Cena's Santa yell on that Christmas Eve episode of Raw. Just like, man, you gotta do it for Santa. I'm Booker T. John Cena, you gotta fight him for Santa. And then, Santa! And just the look on his face, it was just like pure diarrhea.
Lee, your fails of or your biggest fail of 2012.
I'm going to go with 2, 1 TNA, 1 WWE. It's just, there's no bigger fail in this year than the 3-hour Raw. There's no bigger fail anywhere in the world than the 3-hour Raw. For TNA, I would have to say, very quickly, probably one of their pay-per-views, and I cannot remember the name of it, and it was absolutely dreadful. I think it was Genesis. I'm not too sure. I may have to remind me on that one, Rob. It was the one where the crowd was just awful. The matches were it's about in April or May, and it was so bad. And I remember thinking it was one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life, and I can't remember which one it was. Damn it! That or Claire Lynch. Simple as that.
There wasn't. I don't think it was Genesis, but it was early in the year. I think it was like January. It was like February.
It might have been lockdown. Something like that.
Whatever. Yeah. That was terrible. All right. So who am I missing here? Joe, have you gone yet? Mike?
No, I'm the last one to go. Everyone else is gone.
I'm sorry. Go on. Failed here.
Yeah.
You already got me.
I mean, I'm just really repeating here, but 3-hour Raw is the big fail of the year. Personally, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think Chris Jericho really dropped the ball in 2012. I had high expectations for him, and I think everybody else did. And I don't think he lived up to what we thought he would do, and with his return to WWE.
All right, for me, I got 3. It's what Mike just said. Chris Jericho. As it was happening, I was just like, this is a disaster. The other thing is, I'm going to echo everybody, 3-hour Raw. Why not? Let's all go team, 3-hour Raw. The other one is, Claire Lynch, AJ storyline, and then we get it again in Raw. I'm sorry. They never, ever work unless Edge is involved. That's the only way it'll work, is if you can get Edge to be involved with it. Oh my God, these storylines never work. Why do they do it?
I have to say, why on earth did WWE, at the time when TNA was quite hot, why on earth did WWE decide to copy the one thing that everyone was complaining about? They must have thought. They must have looked at the.
Of all the things to take from TNA.
They looked at the whole of TNA and thought, that was brilliant.
You know what? No, let's not copy the Knockouts division. Let's not copy the X division. Let's not copy the 5-6-sided ring or whatever. No. Let's take the biggest dump this company ever laid and go, you know what? Stick that in the Xerox, guys. We got a storyline for our top 3 talents.
And
God damn.
And it was, and if it wasn't bad enough, AJ Styles fucking calls the WWE out on it.
Yes. Oh, it was one of those surreal moments, guys. I'm telling you, if I did not watch wrestling this year and you told me that happened, I would not believe you. Because it's so monumentally stupid. I'm sorry. It's just, they did it, and then they just, why? Anyway, all right, so that is our fail of 2012. Oh, chat, real quick, had a couple of them. They were saying 3-hour Raw, WWE ripping off the Claire Lynch storyline, and actually managing to do it worse. A few talent here and there. We got to get going. I do want to thank Ken for being on here from Under the Influence. RadioInfluence.com. I'm sorry. He had to bow out because of an emergency. I do appreciate it, and he is more than welcome to come on. So definitely check out RadioInfluence.com for all your beer podcasting needs. I do want to thank Mike from PWTorch.com. Mike, if people wanted to find you, where do they go?
Follow me on Twitter at MJQPack. Also look for my reviews of WWE Main Event Wednesday night and WWE SmackDown, usually posted on the weekend. That's every week at PWTorch.com.
All right, and you can read all of these amazing writings at WrestlingNewsSource.com, and where basically he does everything he possibly can to not make fun of the fact that WrestleZone puts an exclusive for everything that they do. I do want to thank everybody here. That's it. That's the show. Guys, I got to be honest, my other big win for 2012 is the live chat. Live chat hooligans, you guys repeatedly every week bring it. You bring the thunder, and you do a much better job than we do. So thank you for making 2012 amazing, and I'm looking to you guys to make 2013 even better. So, step up your game, guys. That's it. That's the show. Check out theftwpodcast.com for more information about us and how to get involved in the future. There's even a support tab where you can donate, buy merch, as well as links to us on iTunes and Stitcher so you can rate us. No less than 4 stars. Come on, guys. 2012 was a great year for us, so we deserve those 4 and 5-star ratings. Thank you, everyone in the live chat. Again, we record every FTW episode on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 1 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time at ftwlive.com. See you next Tuesday, and have a great 2013, everybody.